Evenings on Wings.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday the 27th of January 2019. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Wings and birds.
And Robert Kemp.
Chicken wings?
So
wings?
what type of colour is that?
What
I have to know.
What is evenings on wings?
It's got to be like blue, right?
Okay, that's your guess. So, Dan, what do you reckon? What colour, vague colour spectrum do you think evenings on wings falls into?
Well, it's a question of, is it the colour of the evening, like the sky that the bird is flying through, or like the bird itself and the wings of said bird? I assume it's a bird on the wing in the evening.
Okay, there's some logic coming out of that terrible name. Yeah.
So I'm just thinking navy blue, like an evening sky, but that might be wrong. I mean, it could be a sunset, so it could be like orange or some shit.
You are both incorrect. With all of your guesses, it's a sort of dark pink.
Okay.
I guess is the way to describe it. Almost lavendery, but
flamingos on the wing in the evening.
Okay. Well, maybe it's like, I don't know, like you can get sort of pinky skies, I guess, but you chuck a few clouds in there and then.
Not anything to do with the bird, though.
No, maybe not.
What was it again? Yeah. Evenings
on wings.
Evenings on wings. And it's pinky lavender.
Kind of. Yeah.
Pinky lavender strikes me as more of a kind of flower type colour. Floral.
Yeah, but when you've got like the 50-odd colours or whatever that are all classed as pinks in the Valspar range or whatever it is, it's like
Valspar
that I'm using for this stupid opener.
Do you think the name Valspar is like a family name or is something that was someone invented?
Well, that it was made by Val Spar.
Valerie Spar. My name's Valerie Spar and I'm going to start a paint company.
No one calls me Valerie.
What, that was like a gaming handle? Valspar.
Valspar would be an Eve name because you've got Veldspar, the mineral in Eve.
Yeah.
Which might actually also be a real mineral. Or there's a similar named mineral, I think. No, it's Feldspar is the real one, right?
Feldspar. Maybe there's Feldspar in Valspar paint. Probably not.
Valspar is looking for group.
Or maybe that was the first colour they made. Like, what colour is the Feldspar in Eve?
Well, unsurprisingly, it's kind of grey.
Yeah.
Space rock.
Yeah, space rock.
Also the shittiest space rock, so it even has less reason to be fancy coloured.
Oh, really? It's the lamest one, is it?
I mean, I vaguely remember mining that stuff. That shows how long ago.
Man, do people still sit around mining in Eve? I guess they do. It's like one of the main activities.
I don't know, I haven't been in for a while. Maybe they finally did something about that.
After what, 15 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, how old is Eve now? It's like,
I don't know, I could log in and look at my character and find out. Because that'll pretty much tell you. My character's nearly as old as the whole game.
2002, I guess?
Yeah, it's somewhere around there.
Because you had it on the mother laptop in 2003, for sure.
Yeah, we did. For a brief spell, anyway.
To be fair, it's probably lasted... Well, obviously World of Warcraft is still bigger and about the same age. Do you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Might predate it a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit more stable, has been a little bit more stable in terms of interest. I feel like World of Warcraft got really big and then now it's too old. Whereas Eve, it's like just constant. Just constant.
Yeah, I guess the people who play Eve are so invested they never get out, I guess.
Speaking of really old things from many years ago.
Right, yep. That sounds like a great segue.
Topic.
Yep. I was randomly listening to old podcasts again. Not just our ones, but also our ones.
Oh, okay. I haven't done that, like, ever, I don't think.
But, so first of all, I was listening to a not very old one, because I just wanted to listen to us talking about Star Wars again.
Oh, okay.
Reliving the butts. kind of nuts.
Kind of but, yeah.
So I was listening to that
That's so
again.
funny.
But then on a subsequent day, completely separate to that happening, I also I was thinking about this podcast, the one that we're doing right now. I was thinking about that coming up, and I was like, I'm going to go back and listen to the first podcast just to hear how terribly shit the sound is.
Oh boy, yeah,
Oh, man.
it's kind of awful. The first 10 or so before we switched to a slightly better
Yes.
arrangement fairly early on. Yeah, they're pretty ropey.
Well,
So
we
I
all
went
TeamSpeak
back and
from the
listened.
start, or did we? I think we switched codec or something.
Yeah, we did all kinds of experiments in the early days.
I can't remember. Yeah, were we on like Mumble for a bit? Because it was because Mumble's low CPU, and so we thought it would be a little bit better, a little bit kinder.
But yeah, I
Did
went
we
to
Skype for a bit.
I don't think we ever actually used Skype.
Yeah.
Skype's quite hard to record almost on purpose. I feel like
Yeah.
they make it difficult.
But I went back and listened to that first episode, and this is the bit where it was weird. In both that podcast where we're talking about Force Awakens and the first podcast we ever recorded, which are like 220 episodes apart, in both of those episodes we reference the sonic bombs from episode 2.
That's because that's Rob's favourite sound effect in the history
Yeah,
of sound
it's like
effects.
literally like that many years apart. It's still just that one reference that we have.
That is pretty much my go-to for the prequels.
Wow. That was pretty funny and severely random. It's like I never would have remembered that was one of the things that we mentioned in the first episode. But it turns out it was.
Yeah.
I know episode 2 is like the worst of the prequels, and they're pretty bad anyway, but it's also the most funny and stupid. So if I was going to watch a prequel today, it would probably be Attack of the Clones because it's the baddest and therefore the most fun to watch.
Is it the baddest?
It can't,
Like,
it's not worse than episode 1. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Not if I
I
stand
think-
by that statement.
I think it might be on average over like second to second. It might be worse continuously. But episode 1 has like much worse singular parts, and then like some okay bits.
I might actually put episode 3 in there as the worst of the lot. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's just
It's the
like-
most of a dirge, isn't it? Like episode 3 is like, oh, come on, just get it over with. Fuck's
I
sake.
mean, it's the one we watched most recent, or I watched most recently anyway, and it doesn't. Yeah, it just does. It's not that interesting. Yeah, it's just kind of dull.
Episode 1 has got like the
It's
pod
well
race. I still
made.
think it's pretty okay. It's got Jar Jar Binks, which is appalling. Like it's much
guess-
more yo-yo-y. I think.
Yeah,
That's what I was saying.
I think episode 1 is good as long as you take it with the opinion that it's not really a Star Wars film in a strange way.
Right, if you look at it
So-
like Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, like
Yeah,
a dumb
something like that.
science fiction thing,
Mm.
then yeah, it's probably a bit
If you
better.
kind of separate yourself from it, and don't go into it expecting the tone and feeling of Star Wars, then
Anyway.
it's kind of all right.
I think we've probably talked about Star Wars sufficiently recently.
probably.
We probably just
Yeah.
had this exact same conversation
Let's
in that
move on.
other podcast I was just talking about.
It's a standard
Well, there is-
conversation.
This would be the perfect time to segue into news, though, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Hold on, have we not got any kitchen bits?
Other
or
random.
anything
I
going
mean,
on?
there is, but there's Star Wars news.
Yeah.
Oh, is there?
There is.
Go
Drama. EA, everyone's favourite publisher, have cancelled that Star Wars game, that open world
They've
thing.
cancelled the one that they'd already cancelled and made
Yeah.
into a different game, and then they cancelled that as well.
Yeah, so it's now double cancelled.
So, what about the Respawn one? Is that still going?
That's still okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Not
So-
well,
so
as far as we
far-
know.
So far, EA have had the Star Wars license for quite some years now, right? How many games
Yeah.
have they published? Battlefront and Battlefront 2, and that's it, right?
And Old Republic, technically.
Yeah.
that kind
The
of,
deal happened pretty much at that same time.
Yeah.
I guess they had BioWare, right? Yeah, so I guess that counts. That was ages ago, though.
Didn't they do like a CCG sort of thing, a mobile?
Yeah, they did a
CCG?
mobile thing,
Oh,
but that
great!
doesn't
I
count.
bet they did.
Yeah.
I don't want loads of Star Wars games, but it'd be nice to have, that Respawn one would be good.
At
I'm
least
sure.
a couple of good ones.
I mean, what everyone wants is a KOTOR, right? Presumably, but the problem is they'd fuck it up just as badly as they did Mass Effect.
But I guess no one quite knows the details haven't really surfaced of what either of these two Star Wars projects were. Like, there was the linear adventure-based Amy Hennig thing that was, like Uncharted Star Wars. Is supposedly where that one was going, that they canned, when they shut down Visceral.
Was kind of rumoured that that was the follow-up to 1313, right? It was the same idea.
Yeah.
That it would be related.
Bounty hunters and their background story.
But the thing is, they're making a TV show that's going to be huge budget, that's going to be like their Game of Thrones killer, right? Which is called The Mandalorian, right? So it's about...
Oh, are they? Oh, I didn't
know
this.
Yeah. It's the guy... I can't remember who's running it, but it's somebody... Like, the showrunner is somebody, like, successful, like... No, I can't remember. Like someone from Marvel Studios or something.
Okay.
Yeah, who's making that? Oh, Disney, right? Because Disney want to take on Netflix and Amazon, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
So that's going to be their... Yeah, that's going to be their Game of Thrones. Is they've got the Star Wars license. They're going to make The Mandalorian. That's the idea. So who knows how that could... I mean, it could be terrible. It could be good. Who knows? But that would tie into a game about bounty hunters, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
I mean, it seems like
don't have to be bounty hunters, right?
you want a game where you are maybe not a bounty hunter, but you're either that or the smuggler class, right? Yeah, I guess they did that in the Old Republic, right?
Well, no, they did that Boba Fett game, didn't they?
Oh God, that's
back on the GameCube.
But you want to be able to have a ship that's the equivalent of the Millennium Falcon or the Ebon Hawk, which is what you had in KOTOR, right? That kind of class of ship, or the Slave One, whatever, that kind of size, and fly it around the galaxy, right? And go to different planets and do freelancer
Destiny type stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, make another Destiny. Rebrand Anthem.
Yeah. Still Anthem.
I mean, shooting doesn't really work so well in Star Wars, although Battlefront it does its best, I suppose. But you want more third-person action, don't you? Really, combined with story. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard.
I mean, who knows what direction this was taking? Because, like, since the cancellation, like they were supposedly going more open world, more,
right? For
lack of a better word, more Ubisoft, I suppose, with its direction. But the word is that codename Orca, as it was still crazy early in development. Like, it hadn't really got off the ground still. This reboot of the project. So it doesn't sound like they're cancelling too much at this point. Maybe. Well, the upside is that apparently they're going to be working on shorter projects. Like the idea is they've cancelled this so they can put out maybe 2 smaller Star Wars projects.
Well,
is supposedly what's happening. They haven't said it yet. This has all come from sources, but. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit weird. It's a bit of a letdown, isn't it?
Well, what people are suspecting about that part of the story where they say they're going to make shorter ones is that there's like maybe some fear that Disney is just going to take the license away.
Maybe.
And they're just trying to quickly make something and get it out before the license goes.
Yeah, I wonder if their agreement runs out.
Or they've been like hinted at somehow in corporate back alleys where it's just like Disney is not happy with what the fuck you've been doing.
Yeah,
I mean, Disney,
and they might take away the license.
I don't think Disney cares about the actual game content. Really, I don't think they know much about games, but they care about everyone getting pissed off with them.
Yeah,
right. Which is what happened on Reddit, right, with Battlefront 2's unlocks, and it's like,
yeah,
okay, just all you had to do was not screw that up.
And I'm sure they care about money as well.
Yeah,
the fact that you've only managed to put out technically like 3 games in all this time is not making as much money as you could do from a Star Wars license.
That's true.
Well, I guess you could argue that Battlefront 1 and 2 I think still did well.
Yeah, but that's still only like 2 Star Wars games in all that time. Just imagine all the Star Wars games. I mean, I'm sure you've seen videos on the internet where someone has done a comparison of this, where it's like, here's Battlefront 2 and Battlefront 2, and here's the like 15 games that came out in the same time period during LucasArts.
Yeah, well, that was probably like the other extreme. I don't want that. As a consumer, I don't want that.
Me either,
I suppose Disney might be quite happy with that, but
that was the why that was good, was that like it wasn't like it was 15 Battlefronts, it was 15 different games.
Yeah, there were.
It was like that was Pod Racer and
all
the space flight ones and
like Rogue Squadron 2. Yeah, That was a great one.
There was the Boba Fett game. There was that tank warfare game as well.
Some people like
that was called.
Like Jedi Outcast or whatever, Jedi Knight 2 or whatever. Some people like.
Let's not forget Republic Commando, yo.
Yeah, Republic Commando. I mean, that was not as good as people remember, but it was pretty good.
It was. I don't know. It was quite innovative at the time.
Yeah, it was. And they had some strategy games as well, which some people enjoyed, I think.
Did they?
Yeah, like Galactic Conquest typey stuff. I can't remember. Yeah.
And I'm sure that wasn't during this time period, but do you remember that dumb bullshit educational game where you had to help the Gungans colonize the moon by planting animals and plants on the moon and building an ecosystem?
Oh, I do not remember
That
that.
was goddamn hilarious.
Oh, the episode 1 game as well.
Yeah.
That was a thing.
That was almost a good game.
The episode 1 game?
Yeah. It had some interesting ideas of how to deal with that whole Jedi running around sorting things.
It's a strange
mechanics.
Yeah, if you look back at that game, it's kind of a relic, isn't it, in a weird way? Like that camera angle and the way it's presented.
Yeah, fixed camera angles.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Games, they don't make games like that anymore.
Star Wars, I mean, all the LucasArts output was always like pretty up and down. Like it combined awesome stuff like, you know, Dark Forces and X-Wing with stuff like Rebel Assault. Like, you know.
Who made the games of Starkiller? Whatever that was called.
Oh, Force Unleashed.
That's it. Yeah, who made those?
I think it must
was that
have
under
been
EA?
That must have been LucasArts, right? That must have been like a last gasp type thing.
I guess. Yeah, it might have been.
Yeah.
Who did the deal to put bloody Star Wars in Soul Calibur? They need to be shot.
You did make me think, Zeg, when we were talking about where can Rockstar go from having done the Cowboy game and the Grand Theft Auto, like, and you were like, well, I was like, well, what can they do? And the giant open world. It's like, oh, sci-fi, and it's like that does make sense.
They've done auto and horse, and now they need to do spaceship.
I mean,
that was kind of what Prey 2 was originally going to be, right? It was going to be kind of along those lines. You were a dude running around in a weird alien city and doing bounty missions and stuff.
Yeah, but I'm a little bit worried that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is going to be like Grand Theft Spaceship.
Imagine if
we don't really know anything about the gameplay of Beyond Good and Evil 2 is.
Also, I don't think you're stealing spaceships or anything. But...
Well, you might be stealing a spaceship, like the one that you have.
The one, yeah.
It would be cool if instead of having because the size of the Red Dead 2 world is so freaking gigantic, it takes ages to get across it. It'd be kind of cool to have like 4 or 5 smaller areas that are still big, that are all completely different biomes or whatever, different planets that you could travel between.
Well, that helpfully segues into another bit of news.
Does it?
Different planets that you can travel between and explore.
Yep. Or not.
Or not, as the case now is.
As the case now is.
Because they've scrapped everything they had on Metroid Prime 4 and are starting over. So add another 2 years at least to the development cycle of that game.
Yes.
At least, yeah.
They're starting over, which I was quite...
This is a weird story, though, isn't it? Because like, who was rumoured to have been developed? Was it Namco Bandai or something like that?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It wasn't internal?
No, it wasn't.
Oh,
it was.
That explains it.
Was it them or was it Team Ninja? I have a feeling Team Ninja are involved somewhere.
Maybe.
I think they're actually no. Team Ninja are involved with some other project, aren't they? Are they doing Ultimate Alliance or something ridiculous like that? Like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Is that Team Ninja?
No.
They're doing something with Nintendo at the moment. I can't remember what. But yeah, it was a development house that you wouldn't have expected were the guys supposedly working on this. And Ninty stepped in and said, "This isn't living up to our standards." The weirdest thing is they've been like super upfront about it. Like it wasn't just like a little press release somewhere. It's like it's a video you can watch on your Switch with the head of Nintendo development standing there saying, "Yeah, sorry guys, this wasn't going to plan."
Well, they finally realised that Metroid is a license worth caring about.
Well,
because that was the problem with that was why. I mean, I guess you could say that's actually why Prime exists, is because Nintendo didn't understand how to make Metroid into a first-person game, so they gave it to an American studio who then made that game, and it was like, oh shit, now everyone likes it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the good news of this, is that it's gone back to retro.
or
Yeah.
whatever's left of Retro, though.
Yeah, but Retro is
some
still
people-
making good games, right? They made the
Oh, yeah.
Tropical Freeze and everything.
Or are they though? Because that's the other part of this news story where like they released Tropical Freeze, and then there's been 5 years where it's like, what has Retro been doing in the meantime?
Well, there was that rumor flying around that they're working on Star Fox GP.
Yeah,
of all
there
things,
was.
whatever that is.
Has
So-
it been 5 years? Jeez.
so
it's been a while.
theoretically, what people are thinking is that, assuming that Retro have been working on something for the past 5 years, that something is probably likely to come out quite soon. Considering that they've now basically started working on Metroid Prime, they must be nearly done with whatever else they were working on.
That makes sense.
There's been a few like obvious eyebrows raised at like, it's like, okay, so what is on Nintendo's lineup this year?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Well, I always
once that went away.
I always felt that the Metroid Prime 4 reveal, like which was just a title card at E3, seemed like a bit soon in the sense that they put out like Mario and Zelda, and it seemed like, oh, we'll keep the train going for the Switch with another tent pole or whatever. And it's like,
but
you
Nintendo
could tell
did
by the way that they
3 times
just
that year.
did they just did the title card. It's like, I don't think you actually have anything. You're just saying this to kind of keep the momentum
Well,
going.
yeah, but that was quite a long time ago, like 2 years or whatever.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
yeah,
exactly.
and
And
This
now
year
here
we were
are.
expecting them to start showing it.
Yeah, it was E3 2017 they did that. But they did that 3
Yeah.
times that year, right? They had Metroid Prime 4, they had Kirby, unannounced Kirby game, and
Yeah,
they had
but-
unannounced Yoshi
Yeah,
game.
but we said about
And
Kirby and
it's-
Yoshi, like those don't really count as much because those are like quite quick games to
I suppose
make.
that- well, I don't know about that.
Maybe
but
not the
they're
Yoshi
their-
one.
They're not
I mean,
their
that has taken quite a while, but the Kirby one, they definitely shut that out pretty fast.
they're not their tentpole games for sure, but like they're they still do relatively well for Ninty putting those out.
I think overall this is good news, though, that they're not going to put out something bad, and they'll work with the original creators of Metroid Prime, whatever's left of them, to do it.
Oh, yeah,
I
I'd
think
much
it makes
rather it
sense.
not be rushed.
Exactly.
Much rather.
Well, let's
So-
hope they actually have a good idea, maybe.
Yeah, I'm kind of
Like,
pleased.
you could just go for you want them to just have Metroid Prime again, but like more, but better, and like some changes for like how nice it works. Like, can we maybe move away from having different coloured doors that you have to open with different coloured beams?
No,
Or
that's a
just
Metroid
disguise it
thing.
a little bit better.
Well, yeah, but it doesn't. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have to be a fucking door. Or we
No,
can.
but they did that like with some of the places, right? You'd scan it and it'd be like, oh,
Well,
this
yeah,
is
destroyable
made of
rocks or
this-
whatever.
Yeah, this is made of this material.
But the
so-
doors mainly. But like, I was thinking what you could do, because I was thinking when we probably talked about this at the time, even when we were saying like, obviously Nintendo just wants to do what Zelda Breath of the Wild did for all their other franchises, right? That's like what they were
Sure.
sort of trying to do with Odyssey, but not really. They were just like, we're going to make a new iteration on this thing, but it's actually slightly different enough for it to matter.
I mean,
Yeah.
that would be amazing, right? If that is what they're doing.
I
but
mean,
then,
that's
like, what
kind
do
of
you do
what
with
Metroid
Metroid
Prime
Prime?
was originally, right? If you think about it.
Yeah. Well,
'Cause I was-
kinda, yeah.
'cause I was
like
thinking-
Prime was taking but the original Metroid Prime is almost a perfect 3D representation of what the
Metroid
original
is,
Metroid
yeah.
games are, and it's like they're now at the point though where if Zach's theory is correct, like might be the first time they're actually going to change the formula in some way, right? Because Prime is just the formula in 3D,
Yeah.
but
And then 2 and 3 were like, they didn't really go anywhere with it. They just tried to. I mean, 2 was just like sort of an expansion of 1. It was just like, here's 1 again, but more.
yeah,
And then 3 was like, yeah, here's 1 again, but with motion controls.
sure. And well, 2 and 3 were slightly different in that they were distinct locations, right?
Yeah, but
you flew around. to
that's not really
places.
necessary, though. I mean, that might as well, traveling from your ship from one launch pad to another might as well just be a door.
Yeah, and I think I absolutely preferred the idea of it being a single interconnected world, right? With
Yeah.
the elevators and things like that. I definitely prefer that feeling.
Well, multiple different planets is where, that's kind of cool.
I mean, you can do more with multiple planets
Yeah.
theoretically. You don't have to be constrained by this planet's ecosystem. But then Prime 1 was okay because it was like standard ass ecosystem.
Yeah,
right?
I guess.
Icy place, green place, brown place, and lava place.
But But yeah, I don't know. It's like if you can't really make a Metroid like open world game, I don't think that works. But you might be able to do something more like what they did with Link Between Worlds. Like, don't limit where you can go, but instead of just losing all your powers and regaining them over time, just choose which ones you want. Choose where you want to go first.
Oh, interesting. Right, you'd sort of do the. Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, you mean like have a loadout or something, and be like,
maybe a loadout, or just like
you've got the electric beam. Now you can go this way.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe make it not quite such a straight linear shot. But then, of course, that runs into the same problem as Link Between Worlds, where it's like then the difficulty curve becomes like non-existent because everything is like equally difficult.
Yeah.
Well, Breath of the Wild managed it by like giving you all the powers immediately, and then like it didn't mean you could go. It did mean you could go anywhere instantly, but you would just get murdered, right?
Sure, but I don't know if that's like necessarily a good idea.
Yeah, it kind of hurts Metroid.
All it was
more
like
than it
hit
does
points
Zelda.
in Zelda.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to think of something else, right?
And Metroid did have even though its progression is relatively linear, right? Even though it's presented in this world, the order in which you have to go through things is mostly set normally.
Yeah.
So there's often quite a nice reveal of, as you're scanning items, I suppose. It's like the story is building itself in a logical fashion.
Well, for some of the stuff, yeah. I mean, like...
well, there's still stuff you puzzle together, but yeah.
It made sense for, like, getting Phazon stuff later on or whatever, because that was how you progress through the story. You got to the labs, and it was like, oh, this is where all the Phazon shit's going on. Get that stuff.
Get it. I kind of hope they don't... I know it's a Prime game, but, like... Can we drop the whole Phazon Dark Samus thing? Like, or are they going to return to it? And
well, what even happened at the end of Metroid Prime 3?
I mean, remember.
I'm pretty sure like the end is like one of the other bounty hunters got infected, and you're following him because he's flying away.
Oh,
I don't remember.
Oh, so there's still Phazon.
So there might still be Phazon.
Yeah. And of course, none of us know what happened in Other M, which is because it's a massive prequel. So
I mean, I'm less worried about Phazon and more worried about Metroids. Even though the game is called Metroid Prime, for God's sake, can we maybe slightly tone down the Metroids? At least a bit. I mean, come on. We've had to kill these goddamn space pirates and their Metroid breeding things like 4 or 5 times now.
Make them friendly.
I mean, that was kind of what was meant to happen in the old game, right? Where you rescue the baby Metroid, and it's like, oh, this one's friendly because it thinks it's your mother or what, you're its mother or whatever. And then the space pirates kidnap him and start breeding regular Metroids again. God damn it! God damn space pirates! How's Ridley going to get resurrected this time?
How much more mecha can he get?
Yeah, I feel like that is the one problem with the Metroid Prime and Metroid in general, I guess, is that because it's called Metroid and it's about Metroids, I feel like they can't move away from that. And it's just like, there's no reason it has to be, it's like Samus is a bounty hunter. She can do whatever mission she wants to. It can be about fucking anything. Yeah. Make up any story you want. Doesn't have to be space pirates and Metroids and Ridley.
They always say she's a bounty hunter, but like, I guess maybe that was her past before she got Samus up.
No,
before she got suited up.
She's a bounty hunter in the SNES game. It literally says it in the text scroll.
I know, but like it sounds like she's always on a vendetta against the space pirates, right? Not actually against
it's
regular ass bounties.
It's kind of a coincidence, like when she goes to the planet in that game. It's just like
I suppose it's just a distress beacon, isn't it?
Well, she takes the Metroid from where she blew up the fucking Metroid planet with the space pirates on it, and she was like, "I'm going to give this to the science guys, and they can deal with this." And then the space pirates go along and stole it back. It's like, well, I don't think that's not like another bounty. That's just like a continuation of the same one.
I guess. Yeah.
But yes, I mean, the
space
pirates
are the same thing, right? In a way, it's like, oh, I heard there's some stuff going on with these space pirates. Oh no, land.
Well, it was another distress call, but it was a space pirate vessel, which was slightly weird. But like the Phazon wasn't really. The Phazon didn't have to be related to the space pirates in any way. It could have just been on that planet corrupting stuff, and they could have been some other kind of enemy to fill in for the space pirates doing their experiments.
I guess, yeah. They don't have to be space pirates, I guess, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Come up with someone else.
It doesn't all have to be exactly the same things every time.
Yeah. Has to be a Metroid somewhere.
Yeah. You've had to blow up several planets to try and get rid of these goddamn Metroids.
How about you get a special cannon for your arm that is basically a Metroid and it fires baby Metroid.
I mean, they already have the Metroid rainbow beam thing.
I suppose that hasn't been in the Prime games, has it? The rainbow beam.
Well, I mean, you could argue about the phazon beam is basically the same thing. You just absorb a shit ton of energy and then.
Yeah, I guess. There's no rainbow.
No.
It's not like that unicorn that poops rainbows. You could hold as a gun in one of the red factions.
Yes.
So it's a while away.
Yeah, apparently. Well, or is it? I don't know. Who knows? Nobody knows how long it was actually been worked on before. No one knows how long it's going to take now.
Don't get your hopes up, is what I say.
So what's going to happen at any of the Nintendo Directs this year? I mean, we've got a Pokemon game theoretically, and that's pretty much it, right?
Well, I think they're going to have to go, oh crap, Nindies.
No,
what's going to happen now?
I guess, but
right?
I feel like most,
Mario
I feel like
Golf. It's the year of Mario Golf.
Guess if they, but that seems like it's too soon after tennis. It feels like they'd be pushing the sports a bit hard.
But they must have been doing them at the tennis games and the golf games at the same time. You know, the golf last one was on 3DS, right? Some of that must have been in tandem.
Maybe. But also, that's not that's to me seems like that would be in the same vein as the Kirby and Yoshi stuff, where it's not a main game. It's just a normally nice, smallish, relatively uncomplicated game.
Stealth F-Zero announcement. Come on.
Well, maybe that Star Fox GP thing will turn up. Maybe that is what Retro was working on this whole time.
Captain Falcon RPG.
Maybe they'll come up with a new game.
What?
Maybe suddenly Pikmin 4.
Blasphemy. Pikmin 4, yeah.
That's announced, isn't it? Pikmin 4?
I don't think it is.
I could have sworn that was a thing.
I think maybe someone said Pikmin at some point. I don't think they said Pikmin 4.
What is it this year? It's Animal Crossing, isn't it?
No, that's got. Why is that due to come out this year or late this year?
Yeah, I'd imagine it'll be late. Yeah.
Did they even say a date in that announcement? I don't think they did. Right? They just said 2019 because it came up on that end card.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. Yes, it will be this year. So that's whatever. Yeah, they've got that.
We'll see about that though, because again, depending on how far they go, if they do anything new with Animal Crossing, it's like if it just turns out to be another Animal Crossing game in the same way all the previous ones have been, that's again not that much of an amazing game. I mean, sure, some people will like it because they have Animal Crossing.
You will leave. KK Sliders Party 2.
It's a very uncomplicated game to come up with new Animal Crossing because they don't really innovate with that.
They could do.
I mean, they could, yes, but
they don't.
They don't. Well, they haven't yet. But if this is the generation, the Switch being the machine where innovation is suddenly a thing, we can mess around with all these previously same old games.
I mean, it has been happening, so
yeah.
It's not just Zelda. I mean, Mario Odyssey had some pretty far out stuff.
Yeah. And you could make an argument about Pokemon Let's Go being a mix-up on the Pokemon game, even though there's supposedly this other Pokemon game, if that ever happens.
Diddy Kong Racing 2.
Suddenly Rare comes back.
Wow. Even though it's a Rare-made game, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, Nintendo Nintendo.
They wouldn't do that. If they were going to make a racing game, it would have to be F-Zero. They couldn't possibly ignore all the people who want F-Zero and focus in on the much smaller number of people who want Diddy Kong.
Mario Kart 9.
Well, I mean, yes, that's, again, another one of those games that they could probably ship out quite easily.
No, they just make Wave Race. Obviously.
Oh, my. I don't know if Wave Race could be released as a... Someone says to me, I don't know if Wave Race could be a full title.
No, it couldn't.
Well, it's same as all of these things. All of these not quite sufficiently gamey games.
Well, and also, like, I guess there's less of a need for them to make Mario Kart 9 right now because Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still selling gangbusters.
Yeah.
Surprised they haven't put out any more DLC for that. Actually,
I think they were done with DLC for that. They were like, we've made quite a few random crossovers and extra tracks and all this other junk.
just make the Nintendo Kart. Super Smash Kart.
Super Smash Kart, yeah.
Super Kart Brothers. The fact that Brothers is in the Super Smash name is increasingly stupid.
I don't know. It's a weird throwback thing.
Smash Brothers!
I mean, there was only 2 brothers in the original. In fact, there's no other brothers in that entire thing, right?
Well, what about Simon and Richter?
No, they're not even in the same timeline.
Oh no,
Well, or
they're both Belmonts.
yeah, they're that's related, but not like brothers.
Okay. What's the relationship between Donkey and Diddy?
I don't know. I was thinking about that.
Are they just mates?
Like cousin?
Cousins?
I feel like any one of the DK crew are probably all like cousins, right?
You see, when you say it like that, a bit of me like I've clearly been playing too much Red Dead because it's like, oh, they're all cousins. They must be some kind of gang.
I mean, they are.
They'll be
That's literally
right.
the
Yeah.
DK crew. That's what they're called.
Holding people up for bananas with bananas for guns.
Yep. Banana guns.
It's all about the banana trade. We need to make more money. That's what Cranky Kong says.
Well, that's our Nintendo
I guess that's
update.
one that you can say is definitely related. Cranky Kong is definitely the
Oh,
parent of Donkey Kong.
Yeah, isn't Cranky like
'Cause it's the original Donkey Kong,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Apparently, the Wii shop is closing,
Yeah, apparently.
including
Easy.
the Wii shop music. The most important part of the Wii shop.
Download all your shit now before it goes away.
This is our advert section.
What other news we got going on?
That's about it, really.
Yeah.
You had something about Anthem.
Yeah, we
you,
could-
You toyed with Anthem.
I
What
mean,
are
we
you talking
could-
about?
We could talk about Anthem because it's now there's been an alpha/demo thing going on. So
Where
people
they
have
didn't
played
have
it.
enough servers, obviously, or whatever.
Yeah, naturally.
I mean, that's the point in one of these.
Standard.
It's not necessarily the point, but it happens. That's how it happens. And yeah, people are not particularly enthused. I guess.
Really?
But from the sounds of it, it's like what everyone expected. Where
Iron
it's
Man
like,
Destiny.
yeah, it's like quite a lot like the Destiny style of go
It's
here, shoot a
even-
bunch of dudes.
It looks even more of a Destiny clone than I expected, to be honest. It looks even more straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I expected it to
Maybe.
be a little bit more of a twist.
And then, the classic sort of complaints about why is the town so shitty?
Oh, is it?
Why is the town incredibly empty and everyone just stands in place waiting for you to come and talk to them?
Oh, no.
That was
Because I
funny
thought-
when, in the quick look, did you see that? Where
Yeah.
Jeff started getting angry about that. It was quite funny. I recommend watching
Yes.
it.
Don't bother quickly.
But yes,
Indeed.
it's like, and the thing about that is that's the kind of thing you'd expect from like an MMO town
Yeah.
where the vendors are in a specific place and everyone runs over and talks to them. But that's like a single player area. It's not even like there's going to be other people in that bit.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was about to say a second ago. It's like, didn't they say that like the town area is like where your story experience, the majority of it sort of happened?
Yeah.
And it's like, so that could have been crafted in a BioWare like manner, right? Like,
Yeah.
But yeah.
That looked cool in the early trailers, didn't it? The kind of town.
Well, they showed that one bit where he's like walking through the busy marketplace,
Yeah.
right? That was the one. And I mean, maybe that
Did they ever say
maybe
that
that
was-
place still exists somewhere, and and during the demo you're only in like the back alley like workshops where there's not very many people or whatever.
Did they say that was that all in game? I suppose it transitioned, didn't it? I was about to say, was that in game footage? But
I don't know.
I don't think there was a cut, was there, between that?
I bet they probably did say it was in game footage because that's what everyone does nowadays.
Yeah, true. All in engine.
Yep.
In engine.
And then, but then of course the counter argument to some of the people being like, it's so Destiny and it's kind of a boring clone of Destiny is that you do occasionally see people saying that like what's actually happening is people running into the classic problem where they're just trying to play it like Destiny or like a standard third-person shooter and not actually playing Anthem like you're meant to play Anthem because they couldn't possibly know how to do that because no one's told them. Or no, there hasn't been like, because there's no tutorial or whatever. You don't learn, because supposedly, so I saw this on comments about the Giant Bomb Quick Look were from the videos of Brad playing the
right. And he's too used to playing Destiny, right?
Yeah, like supposedly the way you're meant to play that character is you're meant to hover because hovering actually powers up your spells and stuff.
Oh,
right.
So like the fact that he was worried about his flying overheating all the time, so he never really used it outside of flying to a place. It's like that's kind of gimping that class supposedly, but you know, I don't know if that's going to save it really from being just kind of a boring shoot things fest. Also, I mean, you can call this an alpha as much as you want because we all know it's not.
Just a bit too close.
But like the amount of things, even in just those short little bits of fight that I saw, where like it has the classic problem of enemy bodies that just do things that are not what they're meant to do. Like you can see enemies that like fall over and die and explode or whatever they're meant to do, and then you'll just see enemies where the bodies just instantly vanish or they freeze in place for a few seconds and then disappear. It's like we've still got games doing this. It's a classic.
I mean, that could be anything, right? That could be like a sync issue with the server and it doesn't know what to do with it.
Yeah, maybe. But you can definitely, like, there are definitely several moments where people are continuing to shoot at things that are already dead because the model is just fixed in place.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not good.
And I saw some more footage for Fallout 76 talking about this stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, boy, there's some stuff in that game.
Wait until you play Fallout 4.
Oh, okay. So it's not actually that far removed, is what you're saying.
Well, no, I don't know how. It's probably more glitchy in Fallout 76, I imagine.
Like, just things not animating but still moving around as if they were fighting.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
I don't think I've seen that as much in Fallout 4. So yeah,
So not hype.
Anthem is still happening. And that's like coming out quite soon.
It's like, yeah, end of Feb.
Yep. Although again, my hype is automatically lower due to not having the computer to run it.
Is it all Frostbite and all that kind of jazz?
I don't know, but I would assume so.
Yeah.
Could you play Destiny 2 if you wanted to, Zach?
Probably turned down a lot, I would guess. There was a moment where I was...
So we missed it when it was free anyway.
Yeah. There was a moment where I was, as keeps happening whenever Destiny and Anthem come up, people talk about Warframe, and I'm like, yeah, that's a free-play game, isn't it? I literally could just go play that and see what's up.
You can play it on your Switch.
Yeah, I can play on my Switch. I wouldn't even have to worry about my PC not being able to run it, but I'm maybe not kind of game I'd want to play on the Switch. I don't know.
Never really got a handle on Warframe
No.
and what it really is. I know it does bloody well
Yeah.
because free to play, I guess, but
It's one of those
people
weird
actually
games
spend
that
money on it.
no one talks about and loads of people play.
And and it's secretly one of the biggest games in the world.
What was that cowboy space MMO thing? Do you know what I'm talking about?
WildStar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this thing? And then loads of people were playing it.
And then it got shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one didn't last. But it lasted a while.
Was that an ArenaNet joint?
Maybe, but like ArenaNet in that side is more like publishing than making it.
Right.
I guess.
There's ideas like that always sound cool to me. Like, well, if you could Cowboy Bebop it up, then
I don't think that was exactly what WildStar was.
No,
going
Red Dead
Okay.
Space Online.
So Anthem. Yes,
It's happening,
it's happening.
apparently.
I
The
do
only
dig
other
that audio style they showed, that bit of song they did at the Game Awards, though. Sounds cool.
Well, you better hope it does, because that's what their whole story's about, right?
The
anthem and the sounds.
Yeah, but the anthem is like, it's a Bungie style naming thing, right? It's basically the
Yep.
composer, as far as I can tell.
Well, that's what all of those. It's like Destiny practically has that.
Well, yeah, because it's Bungie.
Well, yes, but-
Bungie are bad at this. Or good
Like,
at this. I've never decided.
Bungie ripping off their own thing.
Yeah.
Well, no, I guess. Well, I guess I don't know if,
Well, the
if
whole,
the Halo 4 stuff would have been made by Bungie before they left. The
No, I
story
doubt
background.
I doubt it. Yeah, that's true. Oh, yeah, the composer is 4, isn't it?
Yeah.
The idea of like the music of creation, that's from Tolkien.
Yes, that's from anything you want to rip off.
Yeah.
There's no new ideas, obviously.
No,
But yeah,
everything's a remix. That's fine.
try and make the gameplay interesting at least.
Yeah, that's the key thing. Even if it's derivative, at least make it fun.
Turn up, mark everything as targets, and then use that tanks just rocket everything to hell ability seems to be the Anthem's trick, right?
Mm. And those bits of footage that I saw, there definitely wasn't much going on in terms of like enemies doing interesting things or interesting enemies. It was like, here's a bunch of generic grunts, shoot them a lot.
It's kind of the problem with it's like open, like the combat of that seems like it's a wide open space, do things.
Well, there was some
So is there-
inside stuff, inside fighting.
Is there?
I mean,
Okay.
it wasn't any different. It was still like, here's a bunch of enemies spawning, shoot them a bunch. But you can jump, so you can get up on the walkways, I guess.
So you think they haven't nailed the 30 seconds of fun thing that like clearly Destiny like thrives on that, right? Because it's the one thing that Destiny does very well.
Well, I
and
don't know if they
that
haven't.
it shoots good.
I don't know if they haven't succeeded at that. It's just like, especially in these early footages, it's all the same. But that's kind of what the early game of these kind of things is like. It's just these generic grunt ass enemies that you're going to be killing for a while, and then maybe new, more complicated things will start happening. But you don't get to see that at this early point.
I guess, but even the first encounter, like especially the first encounter of Halo 2, right? Like even that stuff is like it's crazy dynamic, like with the enemies moving around and flanking and the elites and the grunts, and it's like it's not.
Yeah, but that's where it's a different game because of the loot grinding numbers flying off of things aspect of it.
Mm.
You're not tactically engaging smaller numbers of enemies, you're just mowing down larger numbers of enemies. Or theoretically mowing them down, grinding them down.
Turning them into a loot-based paste.
Yep.
Base paste. So that's new.
Yeah.
I guess so.
The only other thing I had was some kind of Subnautica expansion thing coming January 30th to early access, as in
I mean,
not
they've been
finished
talking
at
about
all.
that for so long. And
Below zero.
it may or may not even be an expansion. It may be standalone. No one
Maybe.
seems to still be certain,
That's kind of cool that there's more
from
coming,
what I've heard so far.
even if it's pre-release.
I mean, the
Kinda
question
cool.
will be whether... The question will be whether it will mysteriously be free on fucking Epic Store or not,
Oh yeah,
like
Right.
Subnautica was.
Yeah.
Probably not. I mean, I imagine they'll try and sell it there, but as long as they don't only sell it there. Don't want any more exclusivity, especially for what is
A game that's
basically
already
expansion
out.
of a game.
Yeah. I think that would be cheeky.
no, it's definitely
do
coming
that.
to Steam early access.
Good. That's the right decision.
Although why it needs early access, though, that's the other question. I
Yeah,
guess.
that's the question, I suppose.
Is it just because they're used to it? Because that's how they did the first game?
Yeah, but the first game spent actual long length of time in early access, and it changed quite a lot. Whereas for like an expansion where it's going to work, it's the engine isn't going to change or anything.
Yeah, I suppose.
Supposedly.
It is that reeks perhaps more of this might be a standalone thing.
Hmm.
It wouldn't be unheard of.
Although the fact that it does appear quite possibly to be like standalone, if not completely separate, it's kind of disappointing. Like there could have been ways you could have worked that into the main game as like a place that you go to somehow. Especially because there's fucking teleporters all over that game.
Hmm.
You easily could have just walked through a teleporter and loaded into that new area at some point in the story. Just integrate it. Although, I'm not even certain that's not what is theoretically going to happen. It could do that still. I don't think there's been enough talk about it yet.
Or would it be like an alternative world kind of thing where it's like it's the same game but it's just in a different place?
Well, I mean, I think what the main thing that people seem to maybe have been inferring or have heard is that it's basically just going to be another survivor from the crash, another escape pod,
right, yeah.
and you start somewhere else.
So yeah, kind of what I said then. So,
Yeah.
like the same game just transplanted somewhere on the planet.
Yeah,
somewhere else.
but it's going to be, I don't know, if they're going to make it as complicated as the first one, they're going to have to do some story wrangling, because the first game you have like the crash ship right there and you do quite a lot of stuff with that, whereas if you're in some other completely separate part of the planet, there's not going to be any of that shit.
Maybe there'll just be a piece of shit,
or the whole story of the other previous survivors that happens at that area. Like they've put like 3 different stories into the first main game area, and it's like now we're going to have to come up with like new completely separate stories. Assuming that they are going to put stories in it and it's not going to just go back to being kind of just survivally or whatever.
Maybe they can't see the crashed ship or anything like that. They just sort of went around the curvature of the planet a little bit.
Well, yeah. I would assume that you might see the explosion, I guess, when it explodes. That would maybe hook that story back in slightly.
Spoilers?
That happens almost immediately.
Okay.
But there's several other... I mean, the whole point of this planet being a quarantine planet, which is also minor spoiler, but not really, because that also happens very quickly. The whole story of the game is working out how to get off this quarantine planet because it's quarantined. And if you're in a completely separate area which doesn't have all this like information that is built into the first game, how are you even going to know? What are you going to be doing?
Interesting. You're like someone with a mission. Like, I must complete the mission. I must deliver the milk.
Or maybe you just like start like picking up radio transmissions from the other game, where you're like you work out what's going on the other side of the planet by hearing little snippets of radio conversations and stuff. And you're like, oh shit, I need to do something over here, but he doesn't know that.
Oh yeah, that'd be clever. That'd be all right. Oh, I need to turn those teleporters on.
Yeah. Like he thinks he's found the power plant, but the actual power plant is over here, and I need to divert the power over there.
Possible.
Yeah, who knows?
Possibly.
But that's maybe the more difficult problem to solve. Like the actual gameplay, the way the game works and the engine and stuff, that's like they don't need to change that because it was fine, and you know just more of that, like different resources and different crafting trees or whatever. That's fine. But integrating the story, which was kind of the thing that was sort of a big deal about Subnautica, because the fact that it was a survival open world-ish game, but also actually had a functional story. Doing that again is the more difficult part of making this thing.
Sure, yeah.
Or at least doing it again in a way that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, there's more survivors out that way, and it's like there's a competitive element or something, or there's
or this will be the one which has co-op.
Yeah,
or
maybe.
something.
So there can be more story because of the interplay. Yeah.
Who knows?
Oh well, you sound relatively high.
Yes,
as much as that gets high.
Assuming that it comes out on Steam, it's all good.
So LED bulbs, right? Like
go back to
random. Go back to random.
Now that we've segued out of news,
I'm bringing it home to my home.
Yeah,
right?
Home. So like ignoring Philips Hue stuff, which thank heavens
ordinary ones.
None of it has failed yet. But like LED light bulbs that you buy for your house, like have any of you had much success with those? Because I swear I've been trying to buy LED bulbs like on the premise that they will last longer than regular ass energy saving bulbs.
I got some for
but they do not.
I got some for my like bedside lamps or whatever, and like you could get either normal or like dimmable. I was like, oh, I need the dimmable ones because those my bedside lamps have like a.
Was it one of those 3-step tappers or something?
No, they have. I don't know. I think it came with the flat, but they have dimmer things, but they're like you can't really access them. They're down by the floor or whatever. You just set them once. Right, they have a resistor with a pot potentiometer or whatever, and it's like built into the wire. Anyway, so I knew I needed dimmable, but I tried putting them in, and they started buzzing and flickering, and it's like this is not dimmable. Yeah, so I had to switch back to the style of where it looks like a a little halogen bulb inside an old style bulb case thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, well, that's annoying. But then I put an LED one in my desk lamp, which doesn't have dimming, obviously, and that seems fine. So, but it hasn't. I don't know. I can't speak for how long it's going to last. And just like you, I've had my Hue ones have lasted ages now. So hopefully I don't have to replace those because they're fucking expensive.
Like it's specifically the little like Goo 10 bulbs or something you have to put in like recessed ceiling ports or something.
Right.
It's like because they. I don't know, maybe because they're smaller or something, or maybe because they're just crappily built.
Or just blame dodgy wiring in your kitchen. That's probably easy enough to assume.
Well, maybe, but it's more to do. Like I think, like it's always like the LEDs themselves are fine, but I'm pretty sure it's like the transformer inside the bulb casing that goes or starts going funny or something. Because it's like, what else could go wrong on those things? It's just
I don't know.
Like. The LEDs themselves don't die. It's just that somehow the bulbs do, and it's like, or do they just turn off? Like the one in the kitchen is like flickering at the moment, a little bit, but not like a constant like dagga, 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 or it might like suggest that it was the transformer. It's like it's a little bit like a fluorescent bulb dying, like tick, 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 but without the tick noise. It's like anyway, watch it. Like I actually spent more money on this set as well because like the first set I got, they were like dirt cheap, and I was like, oh well, they're clearly failing because they're poorly made. It's like so this next set I spent a bit more cash on, and it's like I expected them to last a hell of a lot longer. Yeah, and one of them's already starting to fail.
Well,
like,
once it breaks, just like take it apart and actually look at what's in there.
Well, I'll give it to you. How about that? I don't know anything about this stuff.
Just hit it with a hammer until it smashes, then look at what's inside.
Yeah, but I can't tell which bit was actually problematic.
Well, but you're not going to fix it and put it back together and put it back in your light filling. That's just way too dangerous.
Sure.
It would just be a curiosity to see what was in there and see if you could maybe like infer how well made it was by maybe if it was like just shitty components or like bad welding or something
like that. Like that. There's plenty of YouTube channels. I think I've seen a couple like where people tear down like chargers for devices and being like, "Oh god, this thing is dangerous."
Yeah, I did see a video of someone taking apart an LED bulb where it looked like it had a normal screw fitting even, so it had like the metal screw end.
Edison cap.
Yeah, like a normal ass bulb.
Yeah.
But like he used like cutters to cut that metal open, and all there is in there is just like a couple of resistors. And that still always freaks me out when that happens. When you've got like mains power running through two tiny ass regular resistors, and I'm like, how is that? But that's just how stuff works. You just don't realize that that's how stuff works. It's like that is literally all there is in there, and that's why they get hot because resistors get hot.
Yep.
Not the rest of the bulb that's hot, it's just that.
Well, it's also the rest of the bulb.
Okay.
But, like, the resistors in the base can be the bit that makes the base hot. But yeah, when you take something like that apart and you expect it to be something fancy and it's just, like, two fucking wires, you're like, okay, I guess this isn't as complicated. You think LEDs are all futuristic and fancy and you're like, they have to take mains voltage down to, like, 1 volt or whatever LEDs run for it. It's like, nah, it's just a couple of resistors, it's fine.
Surely that's still like then burning quite a high. Oh, I don't know how electrics work. I've forgotten. Is that because don't resistors like still use current to reduce the voltage or something like that? So you're still actually maybe got a relatively high wattage, or
I don't remember.
No, I don't remember.
You have to remember what is it? VIR. Which way round does it go?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But yeah, it's not.
But then also, don't LED bulbs need DC?
Well, that's what the resistors are for. That's what I've discovered from watching these channels. That's why there's like multiple resistors. You basically connect 3 resistors in a triangle, and it like smooths out AC to DC or something. I don't actually
know.
Ghetto
way, right? That's good enough.
It's not like my theory that I was saying earlier, where there's like an actual transformer.
No, there's probably not an actual transformer. It is probably just a couple of resistors and a weird bit of circuitry.
Or maybe that explains
which would explain why they don't bloody work. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also,
And why they
The-
buzz.
Whenever
Yeah.
whenever you look at these fancy channels that do these kinds of teardowns, it's like they'll just be like, "Oh, my mains voltage is 230 today at this moment," because like mains voltage shifts over time,
Oh, sure.
and you don't even realize that really
Yeah.
unless you're that far into it. So maybe that could be fucking with your valves. Who knows?
Well, yeah, that's why a lot of modern electronics do have like a transformer box.
Yeah.
Before in their power supplies, it's like to deal with that fluctuation. Like most electronics don't need nearly as much as what you can get out of the mains, right? So they step it down just right.
So yes, blame China. I mean, that is one of the things.
China
where-
don't care though.
Yeah, exactly. One of those things about those kind of videos again, where it's like, whenever you see something where it's like, here's the thing which adapts it from this voltage to this voltage, to like, here's the thing where it changes from 110 volts to 240 volts, so it works in our country. And it's just like, man, they've just jammed this extra bit of shit in here to make it work.
Shrug. I don't know. This worked last time. Let's do it again. Anyway, that's my
Yeah,
kitchen bitching.
your kitchen bitchin' specifically.
All right, Bob. I suppose if all of this set die again, then maybe I'll have an excuse to buy like Philips Hue bulbs for the kitchen.
But then, do you want to risk it? Do you want to put more expensive bulbs in there if it's, the problem is actually the kitchen, not the bulbs?
Please, the kitchen.
Because, you know, that kind of rail lighting setup, I could see reasons for that to be less stable than a regular ass wire.
Surely, like all of your lighting is done the same though. They're not on rails like mine either. They're like embedded in the ceiling.
They might be a rail hidden under the ceiling.
I mean, I guess. But yeah, I thought you literally meant one of those like literal rails with lots of lights on it. But like a curtain hooks of lights. Just an excuse to get more Hue bulbs, that's all I'm looking for.
You don't need hue in the kitchen.
No, I don't really.
All you need is good white light, because that's what you need to function in a kitchen.
The one thing I would like is that those times where I'm walking out the front door and then I realise the kitchen light's still on. And it's like, if they were Hue bulbs, then it's like, well, that's fine. I've got an if this, then that rigged up, so it knows when I'm leaving the house and it would turn everything off.
Well, you could do that without the hue bulbs, though. You could do that a completely different way.
So that's the problem. The UK is bad for the other way, which is smart switches. So because I looked into that first before going down the bulb route. Because the problem is you need in the UK, like most circuits, only have 2 wires going around it, which means in order for the smart switches to work, there always has to be a small amount of current flowing through the whole rail, basically the whole lighting circuit. Which means you need bulbs that are dimmable friendly to deal with that, because there's always got to be that tiny amount of current going through. Yeah, and also they just don't work quite so well. In America, they've got a nice 3-wire setup, which means it doesn't really matter. They can you can have switches that do fancy things and blah 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 blah. So it's much easier.
Just make a little robot arm that you can control from your phone.
Yep.
Yeah, Lego Mindstorms
Yep.
switch. I have to replace the batteries.
Teach your cat to do it.
Oh yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, you can get some stuff for that, but yeah, I think there might be some other problems down the line. But who knows how this place is wired? Like, how is a 2010 house wired?
Badly.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Right. A detour back into random. Now it's time for what you've been playing. Seg, I haven't heard from you in a while because I was away last week because my internet wasn't working.
Well, and I got hella cut off last time because we were talking to Kippers.
Yeah. So it's your time to shine.
Well, lucky for you, I haven't fucking played anything.
Hey, perfect.
So there's not going to be much help.
What? anything?
Well, no, I've had another one of those periods where it's periods of indecision. But this time, instead of playing nothing, I've just played a bunch of old things at random.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Like played more Binding of Isaac and
really?
like Creeper World 3 and Surviving Mars. Although I guess that's not technically old.
Not that old.
Literally came out last year. But yeah, I played bits and pieces of random older things, and I'm not sure what there is. I also played Minecraft, I guess.
Okay,
Talking about old things to go back to.
Yeah, that's a bit more of a throwback.
Although again, like I ended up playing in Minecraft another mod pack that is basically the exact same thing as all those other ones again, where it's pretty much because every mod pack now is basically the same mods because those are just the mods that are good for Minecraft, just repackaged into a different way or a different world setting or something. I did technically try to play two different ones. The main one that I played was basically it's the exact same as Sky Factory or Skyblock, that other Minecraft mod pack that I played, except it's stone block where the world is just entirely stone, which is actually a lot nicer because then you're not constantly in fear of falling off.
Right, yeah.
It's like much less stressful. You're not constantly accidentally falling out of the world or whatever. You don't have to deal with vertigo. You have to deal with claustrophobia instead, I guess.
Oh, is that like a stat?
No, I meant in real life.
Oh, okay.
If that is something that bothers you in games. I mean, vertigo in games is definitely more of a thing that I'm affected by than anything.
Is it really?
Well, not really, but like when I'm playing like the Skyblock or Sky Factory, it's like it is stressful to have to like hang over the edge and add blocks to your platform or whatever until you get a jetpack and then you solve that problem. But like, it's not, it's not a particularly enjoyable thing to have to worry about. Whereas if you just play Stone Block, that solves that whole problem. Now you're completely underground.
Oh, right. So it's not like just the floor is made of stone.
No.
It is cave based.
The entire world is nothing but stone. And no resources or anything. It's literally just stone.
There's
and
no
so
sky.
so it operates basically exactly the same as Skyblock, where you have to make everything out of nothing. Just with slightly different configuration of mods this time. So yeah, I did that some more.
You're still playing the Java version, right?
Well, the one with mods.
Has that been being updated? Like,
yeah, I mean, there have been fairly recent updates to base Minecraft. Like new underwater stuff. Making the underwater actually a thing rather than just nothing.
Right. I think some of that had been put in the Windows 10 Minecraft already.
Yeah. Some of that.
See that thing about wall running being a glitch that they've just added to the new version of Minecraft. Like, wasn't supposed to be there, but you can now wall run.
Okay. Yeah, I've been seeing like little bits about new stuff that's still coming, but now it is starting to look like the point where they're kind of just starting to take things out of mods and put them in the base game, except not really. Like one of the most recent updates I saw about it was like I think they're introducing a compost heap to like recycle. I don't know, like excess seeds, I guess. Because I was trying to work out what that would even be used for in base Minecraft.
Oh yeah.
Because like in mods, there's mods that have a compost type thing, and it makes sense integrated into the rest of this mod. And I was like, in base Minecraft, what would you do? I guess you would put like excess seeds and stuff in it, and get some kind of fertilizer that you could use to grow your crops quicker, like you would with bone meal, but presumably not bone meal because that wouldn't make sense coming out of a composter.
Bone meal.
Yeah, that's the traditional way to make stuff grow quick in Minecraft. You kill skeletons, get bone, make bone meal, and then hit plants with it, and it makes them grow.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. And then the other mod pack that I tried to play, but I ran into my problem of Minecraft being the game that uses all of my RAM. Where I was trying to play this mod pack where it uses most of the same mods again, but it tries to like limit your access to them by basically having a progression of like technology. So you start off in like the Stone Age, and you only have the really, which might as well be just be base Minecraft, I guess. You start off in very simple tools and like not being able to use any complicated things, like not even like furnaces or anything at the very start of the game. You have to like learn how to make fire and all that kind of stuff. And the idea is you're meant to progress through the technology that way. And it actually has some like more smart things where it actually hides resources that you can't use yet. Like if you go mining in the early game, you won't even see some of the late game ores, even though they're technically there, because you don't know about them. So like that is a kind of a cool idea for how you progress through it. But unfortunately, the reason why I couldn't continue playing it with my RAM issue is that in order to progress through the ages, it requires you to like explore specific biomes of the world. Whereas like you have to find your way to this biome, and it will give you a hint, like you can make a special compass to find this specific thing that you need to find. But traveling long distances in Minecraft, that's what eats up your RAM. So I was trying to play it, but then I was like, if I travel too far, my game just crashes.
Right.
So I kind of didn't get very far in that mod, which is a shame, because I like the idea. More regimented progression. Not that stone block and sky block isn't a type of progression, I guess.
Organised fun.
Yeah. And then I don't know what else. There's these random extra little bits of games that I played to talk about. I guess I haven't played Surviving Mars since they did that fairly significant overhaul of like progression and like how the game works in general. So I played that, which was slightly interesting because they made it so you have the mysteries thing that like the long term,
sure, the goals,
not exactly goals, but like the goal, I guess.
Okay,
a thing that happens at a certain point in the game and then leads into a little storyline of missions. But what they've changed now is you used to have, well, there was achievements specific to like each sponsor, where it was like do this certain thing before a certain date whilst playing as this country or whatever. Like, as Russia exports a certain amount of minerals back to Earth before this time or whatever. But now the sponsor goals are more like built into the actual game rather than just being a Steam achievement. So now you actually have a separate little screen where it's like, here's your 3 or 4 sponsor goals, and they vary from like easier ones to harder ones. But then doing them they're not so restricted by time. So most of them don't have like a time limit, but they do give you like little rewards. So it's like if you can do this quite quickly, you can get this maybe reward that you can use in the early game to make your early game easier if you can do it in the early game.
Right.
So it does slightly give you like things to do before you get to the mystery, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the rebalancing of all the I mentioned it before, the way like the pipe leaks are much less common and the better systems for transporting stuff around in configuring the automation to make it actually function better, that kind of stuff. And yeah, it did seem nicer, but maybe that my worry about it was that it maybe would make it too easy, but that game has never been hard, was the thing. So it was like,
right,
how much more easy could it be? I'm not sure it necessarily made that much of a difference overall.
Okay, it just didn't make it easier per se, but did generally improve your well-being.
Yeah,
playing it.
Yeah, and they've got another expansion coming soon, I think. I mean, they've been doing.
Have they had any paid ones?
Yeah, they've been doing some paid ones, but I think this one coming up is like a more major. Or has it already come out? I think it might have already come out. They did a more major, or I would say it was a more major expansion where they basically made it so that there can be AI colonies as well. I'm not sure if it's in the same map or whether it's like just somewhere else on Mars, but that still has an effect.
Right, yeah.
And I think that does I think you do kind of get that in the free update as well. Like there's now reason to use your rockets apart from just sending stuff back to Earth. Because before you import stuff on a rocket, it would sit there, you'd refuel it, and then you could export. But the only thing you could export was rare minerals. So if you didn't have any of them, it didn't really matter. You just send the rocket away, just so you could have that rocket ready to bring you ship from Earth again, basically. But now there's a whole nother screen where you can be like, here's the long range scans of Mars rather than just your local area, and you can like send rockets to those scan points. And it sometimes requires like you have to send 8 scientists on this rocket to go and investigate this place, or you have to send a couple of drones instead of people. So it actually gives you something to do with your rockets on Mars, and also like another sink for fuel, I guess.
Sure.
So that was slightly interesting as well. But that was again another thing where it's like you're spending this fuel and you're occupying your rocket, but you do get rewards. Although I guess there is a probability that something could go wrong and you might lose the rocket. Although I never had that happen.
Accidental crash landing.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But then it starts to turn into like the FTL thing where it's just like you have to play it enough times to learn what the events are. Be like, this is the one that might kill everyone.
This looks like a bad one. Let's not do it.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I mean that game is still continuing to be fairly decent and continuing to get better, I guess.
I guess.
I never had a problem with it, but it continues to seem like it still functions well enough.
Despite their best efforts. That's a Zach ringing endorsement there.
Yeah. And then I guess I don't think there was much else. Oh, I mean, I played a bunch more Smash Brothers.
Still going through it.
Well, I've got like, I'm definitely aiming to finish all the challenges and everything. And it's not even related to challenges, but I could get all of the spirits at this point. Really, all I have to do is just grind through classic mode with every character, which I'm like a third of the way through.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, mainly I want to do classic mode because that's kind of interesting. It's like an interesting way to play some different fights.
Sure.
Except for the fact that fucking the majority of everyone has the hands as their last boss, which is slightly disappointing.
Really? Oh, that's a shame.
I mean, they're trying to make a theme to these classic mode routes where it's like, oh, you play as Mewtwo and his thing is psychic control, so you're fighting like pairs of enemies where it's like it's Ryu and Ken, or it's like Mario and Luigi, but then in the next fight you like psychically control one of those fighters from the previous fight and have them as your teammate.
Oh, okay.
So it's like after you've beaten Ryu and Ken, you get Ken as your partner in the next battle, but then you get rid of him, and then you take whoever was the partner of the next fight. So you're just discarding these extra fighters. But then at the end, you just fight the hands. It's like, oh, well.
Couldn't I have brought the last fighter with me?
Well, you do get the last fighter.
Oh, okay.
You do still get Pikachu with you in that last fight, but it's still just the hands. And it's like,
but the hands are kind of.
Well, I mean, they are a partner. That maybe makes more sense in that one specific case.
It's fine.
And when you're playing as any one of the Zelda characters, you're going to fight Ganon as the last boss. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. But then a lot of the other ones, it's just like, there's no boss that fits well enough with this theme, so it's just the hands. Out of the limited selection of bosses. And I feel like maybe they could have come up with more reasons to fight Dracula or Rathalos.
I guess, yeah.
And also, the other reason I don't like the hands fight as much is because that's probably by far the hardest boss fight as well. All the other ones, I'm just like, oh, thank God it's Ganon. I can easily beat him. Like the hands, I just die every time.
Nice.
So Ganon's the one I don't like.
I mean, it's like, technically the hands fight isn't that difficult, except for the main problem with it is because there's two of them, you're having to avoid two attacks happening simultaneously all the time.
Yeah.
And that's actually quite difficult.
Not necessarily in sync half the time.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And, theoretically you could focus on just one of them and kill it faster, but not really. Your better bet is just to constantly be hitting both of them at the same time, because that's quite often easy to do. They often overlap or are close enough together that your aerials will hit both of them simultaneously. So it's not even really that possible to focus on one of them. But yeah, and then going through the challenges, the little mini achievements. I've started using the hammers on the highest tiers of the online stuff because it's I'm never going to do 200 fights, so just get rid of that immediately. But all I have to do apart from that is basically all the achievements that are related to fighting level 9 CPUs. Those are the only ones I've got left now, apart from the online ones. So I've done all the weird mob smashers, all those kind of stuff.
Right, yeah, because I've not really touched that.
Everything related to spirits and the adventure mode, those are all done.
Oh, jeez.
And classic mode, because even though I'm only a third of the way through going through every character's classic mode, got all of them ages ago.
Okay.
It's not very difficult to get all of those achievements.
Well, that's good.
Well, arguably, but I kind of would have wanted more reason to continue going through classic mode. But yeah, it's the level 9 CPU fights that I have to do now, and even not with the level 9 ones, just with the level 5s and level 3s, it has some specific requirements where it's beat a level 9 by 2 points in a 3-minute match and with no handicaps and whatever else, that kind of restrictions. But then it's it doesn't have all the restrictions, so it's in some ways you want to do it legitimately. In some ways it's how can I cheese this? How can I set this up to be as easy as... I mean, obviously, the first thing you can do is just character picks, where you just be I'm going to be a character that I'm good at, and then I'm going to make the CPU a character with really bad recovery. That kind of thing. Just give yourself as much advantage as possible. But, then you could go into full cheese and be no, I don't think any of those achievements make any specification about items. So it's just right. What item can I use to cheese this to the maximum extent possible? Make that the only item that spawns, and then exploit the CPUs that way.
Bombs.
That's far too risky. Only because I'm constantly pushing buttons. That's number one way that I die, punching something explosive instead of picking it up. I was definitely thinking that you might be able to cheese CPUs by using have only fake smash balls and just shoot them from miles away.
Oh, that would be quite fun.
Because the explosion is quite large, but if you could avoid getting caught in it and just snipe it onto the CPU, you might be able to do quite a lot of damage that way. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know how legitimately I'm going to try and do those achievements. Some of them seem easier than others. Because there is what is probably the final achievement where it's beat a level 9 CPU in a goddamn regular ass game by 3 stocks, and I'm fuck.
Yeah. That's pretty tricky.
Gotta go cheese central on that one.
Yep. Just get your Jigglypuff rests off.
Well, I feel like maybe there is a generic way to get through this, which is every time I've played against, even in spirits or whatever, as I was going through the adventure, anytime you're on the normal version of the Street Fighter level where it has those 2 little platforms off on the side, the CPU are so bad at dealing with that. They just constantly suicide down the hole in the middle. And I'm maybe I could just get away with just stand on that platform and just wait for the AI to kill itself. Use Incineroar. I mean, not use Incineroar. Make the CPU the Incineroar. Even more likely that they're going to fuck that up because his recovery is terrible, or not terrible, but difficult. It was the same thing that happened when I had to do the kill 3 enemies in Cruel Smash. The old classic problem. How do you cheese that?
Yeah. That's a bastard.
The answer is because the enemies are Mii fighters and they have bad recoveries. Just lure them to the edge of the stage and try and make them jump out far enough that you can quickly hit them a little further and then they can't recover. I used Kirby for that. Lots of jumps. Just hover out there and lure them off. And then use his up B to smash them downwards, spike them. It was actually quite easy to get 3 kills on that. Surprisingly. I thought it was going to be much more of a trouble. Mii fighters are bad at recovering.
Yeah, not even really dived into that stuff.
No.
It's just there.
I'm kind of disappointed they don't have a classic mode. They don't have a classic mode run for the Mii fighters.
Oh, do they not?
No.
Oh, that's weird. I thought they might have had 3.
Yeah, exactly.
1 for each style.
And it's also annoying because that means that's 3 more spirits you have to buy because they have fighter spirits.
Right.
I was like, oh, wait, they don't exist in classic mode, so I guess I have to look out for them in store.
Because All-Star mode's back as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
or for what? Not really, I guess. It's not really All-Star mode any longer.
oh, is it not? So how does it work?
It's just like a mob smash where basically all the characters just spawn in one after another.
Oh, so it doesn't stop like
No.
it used to.
It's just like survive as long as you can, and
Okay.
the enemies just keep coming. And I played that only long enough to get the achievement related to it, which wasn't even close to anywhere.
Getting the whole lot.
Yeah, I was like 30 characters through.
Because that used to be, All-Star used to be like the 3rd trophy or something.
Yeah, the 3rd pillar of
Yeah.
going through long things with every character.
Well, at least there's none of the ridiculous bad target mash games.
But there's no target smash games though. That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Break the targets.
I was thinking about it when I was playing this. I was like, I mean, home run contest is like, that's just free, right? There's absolutely no effort you have to put into that. Literally just a platform, a sandbag, a home run bat, and an infinitely scrolling background. That's it.
Well, sure, yeah. It wouldn't have taken much to bring that in.
And then Target Smash, I mean, I wouldn't have even been disappointed if they'd only brought back in, I mean, Break the Target's not Target Smash, I guess. I wouldn't have even been disappointed if they brought in the exact same levels from Melee, because those were good. It's like they were specifically designed for each character, and they used the character's skills to make a thing where you had to learn how to do the character
Yeah,
things.
they were useful in terms of figuring out how the character behaved,
It's like that.
because it forced you to.
That's actually an ingenious way of tutorializing,
Yeah,
right? They
it
probably
does.
should have brought that back.
Those were really good. Because they were in the first Smash as well, I think.
Yeah, I think they
Part of
were.
classic mode.
I don't think they were quite as well done as in Melee's one. But yeah, it was just like, bring those back. And again, not that much effort, right? Because it's just like, it's not, you might as well, those blocks might as well have been untextured. They were just blocks
Sure.
floating in space.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could fancy them a bit more, but you don't have to.
Use your polygonal background you had for your credit sequence.
Yeah, exactly. Or the black hole thing in Classic.
Oh, right, yeah.
Those generic ass blocks that they
Yeah.
already have. But there's still hope they could do that at random,
I guess.
but probably not.
We still don't know what the other 4 DLC characters are.
No, we still haven't got to the first one. We haven't even got to Piranha Plant yet. Although
No.
now that you can, now that they've made their announcement about your time is running out to register your Piranha Plant code, and now you actually can buy the fighter pass. I think.
Right. Oh, you weren't able to buy it before.
No, it wasn't even on the store until I think now. I
Oh,
think they've
interesting.
just put it up.
Even after they said, please trust us.
Yeah.
Trust us. Get the season pass.
Well, I mean, it's better that the season pass wasn't out before or at the same time as the game, I guess.
Okay.
Make it look a little
Yeah.
bit better by having it happen after release.
Yeah. Even though everyone knows about it.
So I guess I might have to buy that, I suppose.
I mean, I'm a little tempted, but we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Hopefully they'll start announcing a few more of the people from it.
No, they're not gonna. It's gonna come at one at a time.
Yeah.
You're not even gonna know what the next one is until after Joker is actually out, probably. Well, or maybe slightly before. I'll give them that much.
I mean, Joker's probably not going to be out until March, I reckon, because Piranha Plant's not going to be around until February.
Yeah.
Like, so they say.
Yeah.
At what point in February? They haven't really said. But
And then it'll be once Joker hits, and well, Piranha Plant first, but to more of an extent, Joker, it'll be the interest of like, how does this all fit into the character select and level select screens and all that stuff? The levels, maybe. We want to see if they are going to fill in those holes.
yeah, I guess. Yeah, they probably will. Because Piranha Plant, we don't think there's going to be another stage
No.
at least, but there's at least 5 more stages coming.
But the problem with Piranha Plant and the other 5 characters is like that doesn't even fit onto the character select screen in a logical way. It's like it's going to make a whole new line.
They'll just get even smaller.
Yeah, I guess.
I'll tell you one thing I did with Smash.
Yeah.
That I actually used my Switch in an advert appropriate way.
You sat on a bench in a park.
I was on a train yesterday
Close.
on the way back from London, and me and my mate Sprig, we got the Joy-Cons.
Oh shit! You did one each.
We turned them sideways.
Holy crap!
And we played Smash on the train.
Did you have the grips?
We did not have the grips. I didn't have the little extra bits. But that was actually quite effective, other than that screen being super tiny for Smash.
Naturally.
Like, they didn't quite work out. Sort of like craning your neck in and being like, this is a little bit uncomfortable after half an hour. But yeah, thank you, Nintendo. I did your ad. And it was okay. If only the trains had a slightly higher tray.
Yeah, that is the main problem. It's not so bad that the screen is just tiny; it's getting it to eye level.
Yeah,
you wish you could put it that high up.
Yes, I guess though you can, I'm not 100% sure Smash is the game to actually use it that way. It's just too tiny.
Yes.
It's
probably all right for single player where you know where your character is.
Yeah, and when you're playing it like that single player anyway, you're probably playing it proper handheld style anyway.
Well, yeah, yes. Although, as I said about my playing, my using the Switch in the not quite so advert appropriate way of undocking it and playing a quick round while something on my PC is loading.
Right. No, I do that quite a bit actually. Just have it undocked and play it handheld around the house, or more actually go and visit the adventure mode stuff. I need to get people out of the gym.
Cycle the gym.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was doing that, I can play it like this, but I'm clearly not as good with these controls as I am with a GameCube controller, so I can't do anything serious.
Right. Yeah,
I can only do shitty spirits, not Legends.
I don't think I play that much worse than I normally do, but that's because I'm not very good. But it's just, but I do play better with a cube controller for sure. But but I don't think I'm that much. I'm handicapped too much. I think weirdly the thing I forget when I'm playing handheld mode, and this is stupid because they're laid out exactly the same as the cube controller with my after I change the settings, is for some reason I keep hitting the wrong one of the triggers up the top and doing throw when I just want shield and vice versa. I don't know I don't know why I do that. It's stupid. It's they are in the right place. It's just I'm a bit of a numpty. So you done?
Yes.
Someone playing Smash.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
Okay.
Because we've done that.
What are you going to talk about?
We played co-op classic mode.
We did play co-op classic, yeah, which is kind of fun.
Yep.
It's weird that it lets you pick any character you want.
Yes, that was weird.
Yeah,
but we were like, let's do this legit and pick characters that logically make sense to go with the other character.
Or the same character when that doesn't. Or
the same character twice if not applicable.
Yeah.
Snake.
It's kind of a fun way to play it, but I do wish there's is there a way of skipping that credit sequence because it's too long?
I don't know. I've never tried because I want the stuff.
I don't care enough. I don't think.
Oh yeah, speaking of that, another thing that's maybe to mention about that, it does seem that you maybe get the spirits that you get at the end of classic mode are maybe deliberately the ones that you use to summon.
Oh, weird.
I've been even though I've already done all the summoning. When I've been finishing going through characters, it's it's those characters that you need to make that spirit. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should have done this.
Huh, weird.
So, if you want to get those summons done, maybe playing through classic mode is a way to get some of those spirits easier.
So can you earn dupes by doing that character's classic multiple times?
I don't know because I've never done one twice.
Right, yeah.
I did because I did Mario, but I wasn't paying enough attention to know whether you get the same spirits.
Fair enough. Imagine you must be able to, right? Because you can buy them.
Yeah.
That's weird. I haven't engaged with that summon system at all. I haven't got enough dupes.
I did eventually give up on the plan of duping everything and then summoning. I just summoned everything and was like, maybe I can get them all back. It turns out I think I did get them all back, I guess, apart from 2, because according to the stats, and this is the awkward thing that you can't really tell by the spirits list, because it just tells you whether you've had them or not. not whether you currently have them.
Oh, okay.
So I could only tell by looking at the stats page where it's like spirits obtained 232, spirits you currently have 230. And I'm like, fuck, that means I'm missing 2, but I'm never going to be able to know which 2 because it's not actually, it doesn't tell you anywhere.
So at least, like, if you've had a spirit, you've got it unlocked in that sort of like list.
In the list, yeah.
Oh, that's okay then.
But not
too
for
worried
use.
then. Yeah, because there are so many that are just
The same.
Yeah.
Or irrelevant.
Yeah.
Who cares about a 1-star or a 2-star or a 3-star? Who cares about any of them? Only legendaries.
I mean, I'm in the position where I only have like a legendary or 2 legendaries, but still, because it's hard to beat and crazy expensive.
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting to know. So I've been still just spending the majority of my time cracking through Red Dead.
God damn it.
Like,
It's a long game.
I mean, I'm in the epilogue, and like which is hard to talk about without getting into super spoiler territory.
Yeah.
But I've got some weird. I don't know quite. My thoughts are muddled on it, as they have been throughout the entire journey.
The whole
of Red
thing.
Dead.
Yeah.
A little bit, and it's like I do think things did come together relatively well at the end of the main story. I suppose definitely not as well as original Red Dead. Let's put it that way. Like it doesn't have that weight, or any of that classic. I mean, it just in a weird way, it felt like it just sort of ended. Like it's got that sort of problem.
It's got more epilogue though than the original Red Dead. Like the original Red Dead had this tiny epilogue, which was a bit sad, really. And this has a lot more to it.
And it's clearly like this is the setup for the original Red Dead, right?
Yeah,
and
of course.
Like, this is the way this is playing out, but it's. I mean, the whole game was that, I suppose.
Yeah.
But this is even more that way. So I guess you can infer quite a bit from that sentence, I guess. But I am sort of weirdly enjoying this calmer experience.
Definitely. It's a bit of a relief after...
Yeah.
Like I said, it's bleak, right? It's pretty bleak.
Yeah, it gets bad.
It gets real bad.
Things go sour. Lots of people die. And treachery afoot. And... but it is kind of, it's probably where some of the at least dramatic moments are at their best.
Yeah.
That it does seem to be saved somewhat towards the end.
Because when you're in the middle thinking back to your previous podcast, it's like, when's the story going to happen? Like, I've been playing for like 40 hours. What's good? And then
it
does happen.
Because I honestly don't know how I feel about it. Because like the whole point is the gradual decline. The whole thing about this game is the descent into madness, and how slowly it happens, and how it's not all that noticeable in a weird way, right? It's like, and it's and you're right, actually. Like as a player, I think that came across. It's like I'm sitting there spending a lot of the time thinking, "Oh, is this really changing? Well, it is. I suppose it is quite different from the start, actually."
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just the being bludgeoned around the head with Arthur's views on things. It's like just the feeling of the world has modified,
shifted. Yeah,
like the area you end up towards the end of the campaign is a pain in the arse. Actually.
Yes, it is. It's not very nice.
And then that kind of adds to it all, and it works. It's like you should not do level 3 hunting in that last area. I'm just saying, because your things on the back of your horse are going to get shot to hell all the goddamn time.
Right.
It's a waste of time. Don't do level 3 hunting at that point in the game.
The final kind of gang that you have to watch out for in that area are just not very nice.
They're right next to your base.
Yeah.
Ambushing you just as you're like, whenever you go back to camp, it's like they'll be right there.
And they're the worst ambushes as well, because they're really like tight in, aren't they? Like it's quite claustrophobic.
They'll come right up to your horse as well. There'll be like a guy holding it, and it's like, well, I've got to shoot you first. Yeah, so it gets rough. But as I say, this epilogue so far has been fun. I like it. Like just sort of like I assume it's that's going to go more sour than what it is.
You know where it's
right
going.
Now. It has to be. It has to. But it's still cool.
It's very satisfying.
If nothing else, though, like these ending bits have been where the game's glitchiness has really come out, though. Like even more, like I had there was a couple of cutscenes during the very last sequence where the performance dropped massively.
Right? Did it tank?
Like, yeah, like I don't know if it had gone like 15 frames or maybe even down to 7, but boy, was it bad. Admittedly, it was like only that during some of the cutscenes, like the actual gameplay still seemed fine.
Right.
But there's just a couple of moments where it's just like, this doesn't look like what, oh god, like what's going on?
Right, yeah.
And a couple of like T-pose animations happen on me at times as well, which was kind of funny. But just like, okay, that's not supposed to happen. I had one where there was like a dramatic eagle or vulture or something in the background that like started flapping its wings as if to take away the perfectly on time, and then froze and just sort of hung out for a bit with its wings out. It's just like, okay, that's clearly not supposed to happen. And I think I had one of those, like, do you remember like years and years ago where I talked about an odd, what I assumed was a multi-threading glitch that happened in Codemaster's Grid? Like where the game would sort of like pause up every now and then, but not in a sort of like hard hitch. You know, like bits of the world would still be running while other bits stopped. I've had that a couple of times. Yeah, where clearly some process has hung for a section longer than it should have done. Some animation routine or something. Yeah, so it's been not great in terms of the stability, let's put it that way. But even if the content is better now. So yeah, it's still, you know, still got the draw. Still want to keep going. Like even however God knows how many hours in.
Yeah. Well,
like
yeah. Because, like I was saying, it's like you want to see how it turns out. After a certain point, you're like, I've got to make it through to the end, and now you're like, oh, now I've got to make. Now it's a bit sunnier.
Rob has to make it through to the end for a different reason than necessarily wanting to see anything about the game.
Yeah,
but this one he does
OCD,
want to.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I do want to finish it. It's like I don't think at any point during this it's like I've been actively unhappy with my experience. It's like there are frustrating things about it, and I still think these games should be better from a gameplay perspective.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you don't need as much content as there is in this thing, guys. Like, there is so much in it. Like, perhaps cut back a third and make the rest of the game better, and you'll still be onto a winner.
I still think it's like they just get constantly better at the stuff that they're good at, to the point where they're way ahead of everyone else, but they don't actually improve the things they're not good at. Yeah, so it becomes like a bit extreme.
Absolutely, it's oh man, like I'm probably going to have to talk about some of the stuff, but there has been one shot in this epilogue where I'm like, oh, like there's a specific pose at one particular point where you're like, oh, I see what you did there. That's awesome.
There's a few moments. I thought it was a little heavy-handed. You'll get this with the soundtrack, where it was like, okay, the theme is coming back quite a bit. Like
you're talking about the Cruel, Cruel World song.
Oh, have you got to that part?
Yeah, I did that whole ride.
Oh, right, that was good. I like that. That's my favorite. Like I said, there's 3 times
the
that it happens.
The montagey bits are cool as well.
And that bit is that's the best one. And it's Willie Nelson as well. So for me, that was like musical moment thing. But I think
it's a shame sometimes during those sequences you're not doing anything, right?
No,
that one literally just says, turn on cinematic camera and sit back.
Yeah.
Because they don't want you picking a flower and fucking it all up.
Well, the thing is, this is one of the things. Like this game has scaled back so much on the herbalist stuff.
Oh, it has. Yeah,
that was the one thing that fucked you.
I mean, there just aren't that many flowers.
Because they were on the map in the original game, weren't they? They were everywhere.
You actually have to be actively looking for them, and they're quite hard to see with your eyes, like unless you're using that eagle vision or whatever it is, Assassin's Creed mode.
Oh yeah,
like, unless you're using that all the time. So it is cool. I think it has got better, even if glitchiness and weird stuff. Yeah, I'm just enjoying this epilogue. This epilogue is cool.
But I don't mean just Cruel Cruel World, although that is my favourite bit. But I mean the actual theme from Red Dead.
Oh, what, the Stand Unshaken thing?
No, the from the original. Like, it doesn't have it probably has a name, but I don't know. It comes back with the trumpets. And the Mexican trumpets come back, and it's like,
I think I've heard that once. Like when you're doing a thing at the ranch or whatever during the epilogue, it's like,
It's like da 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 da.
Yeah. Cool though.
Yeah, get through. Get the final ending. Ending is very dramatic and awesome. So
great.
Yeah,
Look
forward.
Yeah.
Look forward.
It's just a shame that you spend all that. Spoilers, but you knew this was coming. If you've played any of it, you spend all this time as Arthur, and the way that main story finishes feels a bit whimpery. That's the biggest bummer of the game so far for me. I think it's like I wanted that to be slightly better than it was, or slightly more dramatic, or slightly more meaningful. I guess I always knew it was going to end this way.
Yeah,
but I felt like it was a bit more of a bang, to the point where Gnome was in the room as well, and it's like, well, that wasn't quite the blaze of glory you were hoping for.
No, it's not.
Like...
yeah, but maybe that's good overall. After you get the blaze of glory stuff in the end, or whatever, not blaze of glory, but blazing and glory involved. Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm not that keen on that Unshaken song, which then gets reprised right at the end of
I quite like
okay,
it. I think it's appropriate to Arthur and what's going on, and it's like it's I do like that.
Yeah, I watched back at the original teaser trailer for Red Dead 2.
Okay.
And the quote in that, the main quote in that, because it's just music and like seeing scenes of it, but the quote in that is like, when the time comes, you better run and don't look back. This is over. And that's the original quote from the original. And it's like, wow, that's like a really key moment in the
super late game.
Yeah, super late game moment. Yeah. That's not spoilers, of course, because that was in the original teaser trailer. But it's like, you look back, it's like, wow. Yeah.
I guess actually quite a lot from those trailers actually does happen quite a way into the game, thinking about it.
Yeah.
There's not much in that happens early on. I suppose one of the train robberies is fairly early on, but that they used in the trailers. But
like when I first was seeing the original trailers, it seemed like the train robbery would be the first thing that happens in the game, but it's not.
I mean, there is one.
It's not immediate, but it's reasonably early. Yeah.
I mean, in the grand scheme of the game,
it's pretty early, yeah.
Yeah, so it remains a hella impressive, please try harder message, I guess. Like it's such a weird thing. It's like super impressive in so many ways, but like you can't help but think like they need to do work on it still. Like it's weird. Like, it's just strange.
I still wonder whether, after all these years, from Grand Theft Auto 4, I still wonder whether the physics and animation is actually hamstringing the gameplay, or whether it can be made to work together. Do you know what I mean? Maybe they're sacrificing the gameplay on purpose, but why would you do that?
I mean, how much of it have you tried in like first person view?
I haven't. I didn't use it.
Right, so I've used it on occasion just to see what it was like, and sure enough, it is snappier.
Right, because it doesn't have to bother with your character.
Yeah, you're not like animation bound in your movement and things like that. It's a lot more. It's not quite a one-to-one thing. Like it isn't just the third person mode mapped into first person or whatever. It does behave differently. But I haven't really done a huge amount in that viewpoint. So a bit of me is wondering if I should just do some of this stuff that I'm doing right now and just do it like that. Have a gunfight. Like a bigger gunfight like that.
In that way.
And see how it turns out.
Because I think this could be fixed. I've seen some videos of some people doing animation work like recently. I can't remember what the game studio was or whatever, but basically the guy was working on procedural, like physical skeletal animation of characters, but still like instant response, right? So it's like the system is like almost machine learning has been done, and they start out with the characters like falling over constantly and stuff, but they train it up so that it can move realistically, even though obviously the actual input is completely digital. Does that make any sense? But basically, like you're just moving the stick left and right or whatever, and the character is changing direction really, really quickly, but it looks like they're doing like it's a tennis player, and it like when that happens, it immediately shifts the weight and presses against, you know, where it's changing direction. So it's kind of smooths it over. So it's like a combination thing where you're not sacrificing the snappiness of it so much as I think has been. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Maybe some of the trick is just like you want to see, like as you said there, when the weight shifting, like the actual effect might not be immediate, but you want like the actual movement to the left, for instance, might not be immediate.
No,
but you just want to see your character react to that input.
Yeah,
like a bit more.
Yeah,
which is something Red Dead does suffer with. It's like one of the biggest problems I have with its controls is like just the act of getting out your gun sometimes just doesn't feel like it works. It's like if I've done something and my guns are holstered for some reason, then a gunfight breaks out. The thing I struggle with the most is just getting my gun out. Like I tap R1 instinctively, and that doesn't always work. So I try that wave thing I explained, like when I first started playing it, where you can sort of warp over the like R1 and R2.
Oh, I remember,
immediately go to it. And that doesn't work either half the time. It's like the only thing that seems consistent is go to the R1 menu and pick a gun.
Right. That's what I would do, but I didn't
realize
it.
It ruins the flow of the moment.
There's just not enough buttons on that controller for that game, really.
Well, in that scenario, the bloody just tapping R1 should just fucking work.
Should just work, yeah. Yeah. And it makes it so you don't feel fully confident in what's going on. That's
I don't think I still don't really get on with the 100% feel like I figured out the draws, the quick draw.
Oh no, I never figured that in the original game. To be fair,
no. Oh, the original game I like felt a little more obtuse, but like now it's like it's the surprise of it in this game. Like it just goes, there's a draw happening, and you're like, sorry, what? Oh, I'm dead.
Wait, what? Yeah.
It's like it's not even set up. Like there's a draw happening. It's just somebody says go, and it's like, sorry, what? and then you're screwed because you got to think about it too much.
I have liked skipping ahead, but playing Spider-Man, I have liked in the tutorial sections where when it slows down the gameplay to give you a tutorial tip, if you don't do it in time, it'll just pause and just forever until you do it, which is quite good because Red Dead won't do that, will it? If you miss
it never does that.
If you miss the prompt, that's it.
Yeah, it's like, please do this. Please learn from it. Yeah, go ahead. Talk about Spider-Man. I'm pretty much done. There's nothing else to really cover.
Fair enough. Well, we'll talk about the ending, I guess. We won't be able to with spoilers, but we'll talk about how it feels.
Maybe we end a podcast with like a spoilerific mode or something. And then
we go into spoiler mode, yeah. I've been playing Spider-Man, which you've played through, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really fun. I could see that it's not.
That's the thing.
It's actually like a higher kind of quality than I kind of expected, but it's just a lot of fun. It has a lot of like derivative elements, but I think it's got enough that's like, you know, kind of novel that I'm pretty pleased with it. And I just like it.
I mean, as soon as you start putting it on paper, really, it's like, oh, you went all in on the Batman take, right?
Yeah, but that's fine. I think that's kind of what I
it.
expected from it was like, okay, well, they just ripped that stuff off from Batman, but which is one of the best games of console games for past 10 years or whatever. But like with the combat, like do Batman combat fine, but just make it more agile and Spider-Man-y, and that's exactly what they've done to really good results. Make it faster.
Make it faster and bigger field, and
and flipping around and all of that, and
weirdly more capable. You know, that's the other thing. It's like you're a lot more capable, I think, than Batman is in those scenarios because guns aren't so much of a problem and that kind of jazz.
Yeah, that's true. Because in Batman, like you get fucked up by the guns quite quickly, whereas in
guns
this,
a big deal.
Yeah, Spider-Man's a bit more light. I would say, just in general, it's quite a kind of light game, but still, it's like the story stuff and the cutscenes are really well done, even though it's like a light. It's not
incredible.
I mean, it's not a God of War or whatever kind of epic time of thing. It's much more comic booky, but it's perfect because it's Spider-Man, and it feels more like Spider-Man than any of the films have for me. I think.
Okay.
It's much more like a comic book Spider-Man. With the quippiness and stuff, that's really cool, and I like that it has so many, of the rogues gallery in there, even if it's a bit inconsistent, like you said, where some of them he's been taken to the cleaners for years, and some of them he doesn't even know they exist, or right, like Doc Ock and stuff, obviously.
Sure, yeah. Well, the timeline is a bit strange.
Yeah, but that's cool
compared to what you used to. But that's the whole thing with this game. It's like it is the traditional Spider-Man.
Yeah,
but it is twisted enough that you don't necessarily expect what's coming in some of the stuff, and it's like or some of the elements you're just like, oh, you did that to them.
Yeah,
okay, that's new.
I mean, it does have, like, compared to fully classic Spider-Man, like, I don't really know how Spider-Man has evolved in the comics. I should probably read some newer ones, but like,
or has been rebooted a billion times. I don't know.
Exactly. It suffers a little bit from, like, the same as the films, where he's a little bit too good looking to be Peter Parker. Do you know what I mean? Or a little bit too cool. But I mean, he always had the. Because that was it. He was like a super nerd or whatever, but then he became like, not only when he was in the Spider-Man did he become super powerful and stuff, he also became like a wisecracking guy, which he wouldn't have been outside of that. Whereas I think that Peter Parker here he's just quite a funny dude just in general. But he does have the scientist aspect, like at least he's doing like the research and stuff, although those mini games are, like you say, it's a bit of a Bioshock feel, where it's like, why am I playing Pipe Dream up in my awesome game?
I mean, they do get a little more advanced eventually, those games, but like really eventually, I guess, like towards the end, and it's not, they're still not that complex.
So I really like the swinging. I think it is really good. The only thing that's I don't like about it is, which I don't know if they could have, understand why, but like I wonder if they could have changed it with difficulty levels or something, because basically you can die in combat perfectly fine, especially on the normal or hard difficulty. I'm playing on whatever the standard one. Amazing Spider-Man.
So was I.
But with the swinging, there's no way to wipe out, right? You can't actually fail, which is
I don't think you can't slam into the side of a building
and
just be you can't be the fly on the wall kind of thing.
And you can fall from any height and land.
It would just land, fine.
And just land. And I kind of would like a mode where you can fail, just to make it, a bit more consequential, because I would rather, in some cases, if I went splat into the side of a building that I did go splat and restarted a few seconds earlier, than like the craziness that happens when it tries to compensate, where you go running like along the side of the building, and when you suddenly realize, I can just hold right trigger and I'll just spaz all over this city. It's kind of sorry, but I don't like that. I like the proper swinging, and I was thinking I quite like a mode where I could like left trigger, right trigger it, and it actually did each, so you had to choose which side you swing from or whatever. Yeah, I know that wouldn't. Right, I know that wouldn't work with controls, but I quite like a little tweak on it where you had to actually, that part of it was choosing which way to grab.
I mean, it has at times, especially when you're in a hurry, got a little bit of the old hold right trigger to free run in Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, in Assassin's Creed thing,
where it just decides what to do, and you're like, no, I didn't want.
Yeah, exactly. So a little bit less of that I would have appreciated, or at least, but I understand why it's there. It's like the combat is like, I think anyone could get used to it. It's more standard. Whereas this, it's like if someone couldn't do it, they just wouldn't be able to play the game, right? And then so they compensate for that by making it so you can't really fail at it. But I think it would have been fun if you did go splat.
Yeah, I don't know how they would deal with it, whether that would just be like a little bit of a delay, like if you hit a wall at a wrong angle, you go and you don't necessarily get hurt or die or anything like that, but you're just sort of like, okay, that's put me off rhythm or something.
Yeah,
it's ruined the flow.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer that to sort of trying to adapt the flow.
Or maybe like have a button to actively like, I'm hitting a building, therefore I need to actually say run, like something about the land on the building makes you go boom, and then like you're being active in it, and it's maybe a little something like that. See, I'm surprised you didn't go the other direction where it's like I thought you were going to make like a physics claim and be like, oh, it'd be nice if the swinging didn't just go the direction I was pushing.
Well,
and felt a little more like I was swinging.
Swinging, yeah. Well, actually, I found that if I wanted to swing around the side of a building, I could, and it felt fine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, you can, yeah,
and it didn't feel wrong. So,
but you have to sort of do that, right? It's
yeah,
not like
you
you
have
just
to
hold
do it.
Hold the swing, and because you're on the corner of a building, the line goes round.
Yeah, I think it would be nice if you had to compensate a little bit and you didn't just go in a dead straight line.
I think that would have made it a little more interesting.
Yeah, I think so. But the mechanics of it are there, and the good parts of it are there. It would just need a tiny bit tweaking to make it more hardcore, and I understand why they didn't do that. They were trying to hit this target of like super accessible, but also having some
and still feels good,
fun feeling and feeling good to it. And I like the kind of point launch stuff. That's kind of cool. And
when you get that power is cool as well when you start upgrading it and things like that. And it's the thing that sort of I'm not alone in this. I've heard this from a couple of places where there are certain traversal animations that I don't think I knew existed or saw until I hit something at a very specific angle, and you're just like, oh, that's different. I haven't seen him do that before. And it's like, and that kind of lingered for quite a good portion of the game, where it's just something happened randomly, and it's like, oh, they actually thought of that and put an animation in. It's like, that's cool.
Yeah. The city is nice. I mean, it's fun to swing through. It's a bit weird if you know New York geography, obviously, because it like cuts off really bizarrely at the top. And obviously it's condensed, but I think it looks pretty good. I quite like. I don't mind the compromise they made with the lighting, where the time of day is tied to the story. I think that works quite well.
Oh yeah, that stuff's pretty great. I don't know how it works post game actually, because like if I wanted to do something at a specific time of the day, how do I choose that?
I did have to do
after finishing the story
I had to do one kind of lab research station where I had to swing through Times Square, and it needed to be at night for the adverts.
Oh yeah, and then it does it does a transition, but it's always out of your control. And it's I've never come across like if I'm in the post game, for instance, and I just want to mop up crimes.
I don't know.
Like, what if I wanted to do these at night rather than the current time? And it's like, I don't know how I would choose that once you've finished the game. But
obviously
maybe you don't. Maybe that's just not a thing.
Well, cool. Yeah, and it took me a little while to get. There's a lot of options in the combat, which is good. Like, I think there's actually more stuff to it than the Batman combat, but maybe a little bit less finesse. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. But, like, you don't have the same drive that you do in Batman to use everything you have.
Exactly.
Because there are a lot of things that aren't always all that useful.
Yeah, you can get away with using only about half your moveset in Spider-Man, can't you? If you want to. But it's kind of, and then you have to keep going back to the moves menu to remind yourself. Oh yeah, I should probably be.
I can do that thing. Yeah,
throwing someone up in the air and then slamming them into the ground, and then it's or whatever the move is that I always forget.
The air throw later on especially becomes somewhat useful,
right,
for specific enemy types and things like that.
It's cool.
I think I've explained it before. I think that like most enemies, there are a puzzle. Like some of them you can just mash against, right? Fine, do whatever.
Yeah.
But there are definitely a few where it's like there is an approach to them.
Yeah, there's a way to do these guys,
and it forces you to use your repertoire,
which is cool.
Like, okay, that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just certain cool moments where it's like, oh, actually, in this particular circumstance, if I just jump against the wall, if I dodge against a wall and then hit him from a different angle, it's like, oh, that's actually really cool because now it puts me in a nice position.
Yeah.
And it's like just the ability to do all of that stuff on the fly is neat. Even if you do it accidentally, it's still neat. It still looks good.
I have to say, I've done quite a few cool things accidentally. That's okay. I mean, it's just I like the tone of it. It's really fun and it's bright and like
Spider Cop,
mechanically good. Yeah, I like all that stupid stuff. That's really comic booky and awesome.
There's a really good reason why that all plays well as well. The whole Yuri and Spider-Man thing is like I realized this. I might have mentioned this before, but those two actors I think they're married in real life.
Oh right. Oh okay.
So and I think the male actor is actually called Yuri, which is somewhat confusing.
Oh weird.
So it's like like their names are reversed and they're doing a thing, but it's like they clearly have. There's a really decent actor chemistry there, and it's awesome.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, all of the acting going so far. I mean, obviously it's quite a basic stuff, but the scenes are quite good. I like Aunt May. There is some chemistry, I think, definitely between even though it's all animated, between Peter Parker and MJ.
Yeah, no,
So
that
that's good.
stuff's all really well done as well. Yeah, I'm kind of. I don't necessarily buy into MJ's character ever in Spider-Man, but I think
this is one of the better MJs.
It is.
It is. Her.
Yeah, I think in a weird way, I think she gets less good as the game goes on, but like it's in that sort of like forced relationship trouble kind of way,
right?
Because that's I don't know. To me, that some of that stuff in like films and stuff like that just never feels particularly real. It's just like that seemed like a snap decision. Okay,
well, it's comic books. It's not exactly high literature, is it? It's not exactly.
I know, but it's like, I just naturally find that kind of stuff frustrating because it's like, I feel sorry for you now.
Yeah.
You've made me feel things that aren't real.
Yeah. So yeah, Two Thumbs fresh.
The man from Typhoo is happy.
Yeah, play a bit. I even like the music. Like the main theme is quite nice. Although it's a bit over the top ridiculous how every time you go swinging through the city, it like swells up insanely and then cuts out.
I'm just catching a pigeon.
Yeah, although the pigeon catching is quite fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. Well, it's weird. It's actually I think the pigeon catching might actually be kind of one of the worst bits of animation because it's like they don't really.
Yeah. But I mean the actual challenge of swinging.
Yeah, they don't really deal with it, do they? It's just really. Pigeon suddenly disappeared. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I've been tripped up by some of the QuickTime events, but that's mainly because I never had a PlayStation as a kid, so I still don't know where the buttons are. So I still have to look at the controller every fucking time.
Sure.
But yeah, not too bad.
Suddenly mash square. That's all you really need.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, there's some sequences, right, like the one they showed at E3 with the helicopter or whatever, where you need to press certain things, and they don't even necessarily map to the normal button. Like, there's a bit where you need to fire webs, and it says, hit L1 and, L2 and R2 really quickly, and it's like, normally I'd hit R1 for that. So,
oh, really? I thought those were normally pretty solid. It's like the one... Like it's normally what L1, R1 if you're going to be doing like some of the rapid fire stuff. They'll be like or just mash L1 a lot, something like that. And like when you're specifically grabbing something with a tether, they do make the button prompts related to L2 and R2, just like the pull yourself to a thing. Like, I thought they stayed mostly. I can't really think of one that was totally out there.
Yeah, that was just an example, but I had a couple of fails, which is in dramatic moments where it's like, oh, that's annoying. Yeah, but
they're not too dissatisfying because like they know like a quick time. I think modern game design at least has realized that like a quick time event is not like something that if someone fails, it's like okay, fine, but let's not make a big deal of this. Let's just take you back to right before that just happened.
Yeah, and let you do it again. Yeah.
Which is why I was pretty glad, like with the like quick draws in Red Dead. It's like every time you get one of those, it's like, the reload is literally right before the draw.
Yeah,
so it's like okay, cool.
Yeah. So
don't waste my time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not wasting my time. I'm having a great time, so it's really good.
Yeah, it's badass.
I'm not saying it's like it would have changed my Game of the Year decisioning at all.
I think I'm still lined up to play God of War next. Just to try and cement those thoughts a little bit. But yeah, I think it's a ridiculously good game that like I think ended up being way better than anyone anticipated.
Yeah.
Although I am still annoyed with your trailers. I'm not letting you forget that, Sony.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Still annoyed.
Sony's marketing in general for anything, including Spider-Man, is just screwed. Whether it's games or films or like they apparently they had a teaser trailer for Spider-Man, the next Spider-Man film. What's it called? Far From Home or something?
Oh, okay. I haven't seen any of that. But yeah.
But there's a problem, right? Because so Sony control the marketing for it. And they wanted to put,
I didn't realize that.
They control the money, the budget, and the marketing, and like Marvel have creative control. There's some weird arrangement, but they wanted to put out the trailer, and Marvel were like, "No, that makes it too obvious that Spider-Man, is resurrected from Thanos's, turning him into dust." Right.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course.
Because it's set after Infinity War. Yeah. Because it comes out in the summer. So
they've had to hold back all of it. Like, it's stupid anyway. We knew he was going to come back because he's freaking Spider-Man.
Obviously. I mean, they killed all of the new characters, like in Infinity War, and left all of the ones that are due to retire alive. Suspicious. I wonder what's going to happen in the next movie. Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, that is weird. I didn't realize it was quite that complicated.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird deal. They don't want to, because of course Sony are also trying to use the rest of their license that they still have full rights to make things like Venom, right?
Yeah.
Which
which is extra weird. Yeah,
did well in China. That's all anyone wants.
Well, apparently, that film apparently did very well everywhere. Despite the fact it's supposedly not that good. I didn't end up seeing it. I haven't really seen many films for a long time, which is a bit of a bad...
Surprisingly.
Yeah, it's a bad thing. But just time now is a bugger. It's like I can... I'm allowed to say I've started a new job now, or that's been on the cards for a while, and it's like that is screwing my time up at the moment. And,
just commuting back?
Well, yeah, it's just I don't have as much time, and it just means I'm more tired at the moment than I have been for a while.
Yeah,
and it's people with kids have been telling me it's like you don't know the meaning of tired, and it's like, yeah, all right, I get it, but it's more tired for me. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's me. Is that a podcast then?
There's one more bit of semi news that I remembered that I wanted to mention about Dirt Rally 2.
Oh right, yeah, what's happening?
They've announced I guess pre-orders. I guess at this point they've shown what the packages are. I guess you could say, here's the deluxe edition, and here's what you get with it, and all that kind of stuff.
Really?
Well, they did it for the last 2 games. So,
did they?
Yeah, Dirt 4 had one, and Dirt Rally had the
when it consoled.
Yeah, when it actually came out for real. I guess they did like a special car thing.
Did we get that as early accesses?
Yeah,
okay,
I think so. But they're doing that again, obviously. So you get the Porsche rally car and early access to these other cars or whatever.
Okay.
So I'm not worried about that.
No.
But the interesting thing that they have, well, they still haven't been very specific about it, but they've said that they're going to do season 1 and season 2 of DLC, which are going to include 3 or 4 new tracks.
Just tracks?
Well,
what do they mean? Rally stage? Or do they mean rally events?
Well,
what's going on here?
By saying tracks, I assume they're meaning it in the same way as Dirt Rally has, where it's one really long course that is then cut into 4 mini stages and 2 long ones, probably. But even so, the fact that they've announced that much is sort of interesting because it means that they're starting with the 6 that are in the base game, and then adding potentially another 6, at least. But the slightly weirder thing about that is that that kind of maybe makes it less likely they're going to do what we hope they would do and just port Dirt Rally 1 stuff in.
Yeah, I guess.
If they're marketing it as DLC, that they can't possibly get away with reselling the Dirt Rally stuff just slightly upgraded, right?
No, that would be very cheeky. It wouldn't be the first time that's happened, but it would be cheeky.
Yeah. I mean, they could make, a Monaco stage again, but it would have to be a completely different stage.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not against them reusing locales.
Yeah.
If they're a different track, that's fine. But yeah, if they are the same tracks, then that's a little less good.
But yeah.
Very less good, actually.
They haven't really said much about it.
Are these DLC are they is it that they said the first season is free and the second season is a pass, or is it there's just 2 season passes they're announcing up front?
Well, they call them seasons, but I think it's a season pass made of these 2 seasons. They're calling them seasons because that's a racing thing, right?
Right, I guess. That's weird. I don't know if Codemasters really know what the hell they're doing these days.
No.
Like, nothing of what you've said fills me with confidence.
Well, I mean,
other
the
than-
amount of content, slightly.
I mean, but it doesn't sound like how much is in the game, like, and how much are these DLCs adding? Is like,
Well,
that's
it's
still a
double,
big
I
unknown.
guess. It's 6 base and then 6 in the DLC, or 6 or more in the DLC, in theory.
What, so we're talking 6 locales,
Yeah.
I mean? So what, probably,
12 stages again.
24?
12 roads.
That still doesn't seem like, for a rally game, that never feels like enough.
No, but I mean, maybe they'll be longer again. Who knows?
Oh, yeah, well, then maybe there'll be 12 extra long ones.
Yeah,
to-
maybe
to
it'll be
really
12
even-
long ones, not 12
That would be
4
better,
short ones.
because that was one of the most annoying things. Was not just the fact that you like stages repeated, because you'd be doing the same one backwards, and occasionally you'd have rally events where it'd be like, okay, now do 2 of these ribbons combined. Now do each one individually, so you're just driving the same bit of track again.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is a rally game, and it's somehow repetitive.
But I
It's
wouldn't
like,
bet
it's,
on
it's
it, though.
against rally, and
I wouldn't bet on it. I'd bet it's probably going to be quite similar. They did talk a little bit more about their fancy, like, new train deformation stuff,
oh right,
which unfortunately
I didn't
seems
know about that.
seems like that's the angle that they're trying to get around the driving the same road over and over, where they're like,
Oh yes, no, you did say about this. Actually, I do remember.
because of the terrain deformation, where you start in the starting order can affect the actual whole course
Yeah,
and
yeah.
can make it feel completely different, even though it's the same course. It's like, yeah, we'll see about that.
Yeah, not overly convinced by that. I mean, it's a neat idea, at least for, even if it was just a visual thing.
Yeah.
That's cool, but yeah, I'm not sure about that. It'll never make it feel totally different. In the same way that I don't really agree with the whole thing that people say about Forza 4 and Horizon 4, and it's like, oh, the seasons change everything, and it's like, I don't think it does all that much. Or maybe I just drive cars that aren't affected by it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I suppose I could mention, I did go and play a bit more Forza 4 because my Game Pass is about to run out.
Right.
So I was like, let's play a bit of this. Still don't think I'm hooked by it. Like, I still haven't got that, but I did at least manage to get it to unlock a bit more of the, I guess, the replacement for the bucket list stuff that I was talking about. So, like, I knew last time I discovered the stunt chapters and the world's fastest taxi service. Oh no, so world's fastest rentals or something services. That was it. Because there's also a fastest taxi service that unlocks, which lets you drive like a souped up London cab for some reason.
Weird.
Yeah, and doing like time trial things while some guy yabbers at you in the back of the cab. It's a bit strange. But then one of the more interesting ones is this. They refer to her as a vlogger, which is like probably not quite right. They could have just called her a streamer, right? That would have been a better term these days.
Maybe not when they were making the game.
I don't know.
That's just starting to change.
A vlogger. I haven't heard that for a long time.
It's because we've moved on from bloggers onto vloggers, and bloggers was only.
But they're just streamers now.
Yeah,
They're
but
just called
bloggers was
YouTubers as well, aren't
the
they?
one that stuck around for quite a while, even though everyone hated it.
Yeah, I suppose vloggers are like the ones that don't do it live, I guess. But she strikes me more of a streamer anyway,
right?
Like in the way that her. So anyway, her thing is like I'd vaguely heard about this, but hadn't come across it, and so then forgot what game it was in. But it turns out it was this one, where she's called La Racer, and she's about recreating video game scenes. Like, so the first thing you do is obviously outrun. It's like, here, have a Ferrari, go around some like wide sweeping turns in a sort of time trial event. And it's like, there's one for, I think there's a lot of Sega properties in here actually, because they do Daytona, they do, which isn't really all that Daytona-y. And they do Sega Rally, which has her irritatingly shouting, easy right, easy left at you while you're doing the section, which is kind of funny. Up until the point where there's a hairpin, and she doesn't say hairpin. It's like, you got it wrong. You know, in a Lancia Delta and that kind of stuff. And it's like, there's some. I think it kind of all these things like kind of compound my problems with it, and that like they've just not been that inventive with this stuff. It's like it seems like it's a cool idea that they then didn't really double down on it. It's like they make a joke during the Daytona one of like you as you drive around the course, she'll occasionally say time extended.
Right.
Except there's no timer that works in that fashion. It's like that would be like excellent had they just gone the extra mile to put like a timer on screen that increases when you hit the checkpoints and be like time extended, and it's like that would have made sense. It's like, but they just don't do that, and I think like it's kind of my feeling about the game overall, and that it's like they've done the seasons thing, which is a cool idea, but then the rest of the game feels stagnant to me. Anyway, I think I'm relatively alone in that opinion. A lot of people think Forza 4 is a Horizon 4 is a step more of a step forward than it is, but I don't see that. It's a good one of those. I'll give it that, but it's one of those again. Got to do something different next time, man. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, little Forza 4 rant.
And that concludes the Forza 4 rant. And the podcast.
Yeah, the podcast is done. I'm hungry, man.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
I avoided
listeners.
talking about food
Yes,
specifically.
I know.
Like, I went out of my way not to bring up the Breakfast Club and how gorgeous that was.
Oh, that was delicious. Sorry
even
you
if I think
delayed
that-
your trip back, but
Even if I think that place is a little bit like kind of everything I hate about London wrapped up in a restaurant, but the food is delicious.
yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Cool. Watch out for new Happy Salad videos on our YouTube channel. What's coming up?
Yep, more Half-Life.
More Half-Life. Woo! What's
We're
the
getting
next
towards
bit?
the end. Well,
Yeah.
relatively speaking.
Well, it's quite long. Well, where are you? You did surface tension, right?
We've literally, at the end of the next episode that goes up, we just get to Zen.
Oh, you get to Zen. Okay, that's quite close to the end. Okay, cool.
Well, is it though?
The joys of the testicle gonad person, gonarch, isn't it? The gonad, yeah. And all of that fun, and of course the fun of boss. So yeah, look, but still, tune in for the bit up to getting to Zen.
Yeah, when I actually get around to having time to do the videos.
Yep.
To do the videos, and we'll catch you in a couple of weeks for another Saladcast. Bye.